How does the first visible star, or planet, signal the transition from day to night? What sights, scents, and sounds accompany the quiet arrival of evening? How does the western sky's colour palette change after sunset? We are outside in the gentle hush of evening. The last light of day clings to the sky, painting it in soft colours of peach and gold. A warm glow lingers along the horizon where the sun set moments ago. The air is still and calm, carrying the subtle scent of cooling earth. Together, we find a comfortable spot to gaze upward. Perhaps we spread out a soft blanket on the grass, feeling the gentle warmth the earth still holds from the day's sun. As we settle in and let our eyes adjust to the dimming dusk, we notice how the ground's warmth and the familiar scent of the earth add to our sense of calm, connecting us to the land, even as we look toward the heavens. High above, the blue of the day has deepened into a tranquil twilight. As we watch patiently, the very first star of the evening makes its appearance. At first, it's just a faint pinprick, almost invisible against the fading brightness. Then, as the seconds pass, it grows clearer, a tiny beacon of silver light suspended in the twilight sky. We point it out quietly, sharing a smile at this small miracle, the first star arriving right on time. In this peaceful moment, day and night gently overlap. The land around us is draped in a bluish dusk, while overhead the heavens begin to reveal their jewels. That solitary star twinkles softly, greeting us as an old friend might after a long absence. We whisper a greeting back, feeling a sense of companionship with this distant light. It's comforting to see it appear exactly where we expect it, as if to say, "I'm here, and the night has begun." Perhaps this first star isn't a star at all, but a planet. Venus, the evening star, shining with a steady, bright glow. Often, Venus is bold enough to show itself while the sky is still painted with the afterglow of sunset. Whether star or planet, that first glimmer is special. It signals that the sky's transformation is underway. The vast dome above is changing guard. The sun's brilliance has left for the day, and the gentle glow of countless faraway suns is emerging. We watch as the colours in the west shift and soften. The sun's goodbye has left streaks of pink and orange that melt into a deepening blue. Against that canvas, the first star holds its place. When you look at it steadily, you might notice it twinkling a bit if it's a true star, or shining steadily if it is Venus. Either way, its light feels soothing. It has travelled millions upon millions of miles to reach our eyes at this very moment. That thought leaves us in quiet awe. Here we sit under the wide sky, bathed in the last light of day and the first light of night, feeling small and connected to something so vast. A gentle breeze stirs, as if to celebrate the coming of night. In the grass around us, perhaps a cricket begins to sing, its lullaby a counterpoint to the silent scene above. We take a slow, deep breath of the cooling air. All the hurry of the day is behind us now. Each passing minute, the sky grows a touch darker, and another pinpoint of light appears in the expanse overhead. The first star never stands alone for long. Now a second star emerges, then a third, timid at first, then brightening. We barely notice the exact moments they appear, unless we focus intently. If we close our eyes for just a minute and open them again, more lights have materialized as if by magic. It's a gentle unveiling. The sky does not rush. It allows night to settle in at its own calm pace. we find ourselves relaxing into this natural transition. The transformation from day to night is gradual, peaceful, and inevitable. It's a time-honored ritual that has occurred every single evening of our lives. Yet it still feels quietly wondrous each time. The first star of evening reminds us that even as one chapter closes, another begins, slowly and softly. Under this emerging starlight, our minds start to let go of the day's worries. We feel our thoughts slow down, matching the unhurried pace of the heavens above. We linger on that first star, remembering perhaps childhood evenings when we'd eagerly watch for it. There's a familiar old rhyme that comes to mind. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Maybe you recall saying those words as a child, gazing at the first tiny light with hope. In those moments, the first star felt like a friendly listener to our wishes. Even now, thinking of that simple childhood ritual brings a gentle warmth to the heart. Under the emerging night sky, we feel connected to that sense of innocence and wonder. The tradition is to make a wish when you spot the first star. In this quiet moment, one can't help but feel that hopeful spark. Maybe we too close our eyes and send a gentle wish out into the dusky sky, carried on the wings of imagination. As twilight deepens, the world around us continues its slow exhale into night. The silhouettes of distant trees fade into the growing darkness. A few wispy clouds in the west are still touched with a rosy glow, but they too are dimming. The first cool stars now have company. A tiny cluster begins to shimmer high above, like the first notes of a nocturnal symphony. Each new star appears in silence, yet together they transform the sky's canvas. The atmosphere itself seems to hold its breath. Daytime creatures have settled down. The last bird songs have quieted, and night creatures have yet to fully stir. For a brief time, it's as if the earth is pausing along with us, watching the sky's gentle transformation. In the distance, one by one, a few lights blink on in homes or along far-off streets, man-made stars twinkling on the horizon. They remind us that while people go about their evening routines, above them, the vast universe is unveiling itself, calmly and steadily. Above our heads, the blue has deepened to indigo. Over the eastern horizon, it is nearly night, while the west still holds a faint afterglow. This contrast in the sky is enchanting. Darkness rising in the east, light clinging in the west, creating a beautiful gradient across the dome. And there, almost directly above, that first brave star, or planet, continues to shine, now joined by a growing assembly of its brethren. We take comfort in their presence. The sky, which just an hour ago was dominated by the sun, is now a gentler realm dotted with soft lights. Time seems to slow down out here. Under the emerging stars, minutes stretch luxuriously. There's no rush at all, just the patient unfolding of evening. We allow our senses to take everything in. The dimming colours, the fresh night scents of grass, and maybe a hint of pine, the distant murmur of a breeze. Each detail roots us further in the present, in this peaceful space between day and night. Perhaps overhead, a faint streak of light catches our eye. Not a star at all, but a high-flying airplane, reflecting the last rays of the sun, or maybe an early meteor darting through the upper atmosphere. It's gone in a blink, leaving us wondering if we really saw it, or only imagined it. These fleeting sights add to the magic. as if the sky has tiny secrets it reveals only to the most attentive observers. With the first stars of evening now visible, we feel the majesty of the night beginning to reveal itself, but ever so slowly. There is an old saying that the night is alive with stars. At this moment, the night is only just awakening. We sense that a grand spectacle is on its way, but for now it teases us with just a few sparkling lights. This gentle beginning feels intimate. The cosmos is immense, yet right now its presence is subtle and personal. A single star shining for us, then another, like distant friends checking in after the day is done. Looking up at that tiny beacon, it's amazing to think how constant this routine is. No matter where we are on Earth, as long as the sky is clear, the first star of evening will appear after sunset. Generations before us have paused at dusk to gaze at that first star, perhaps with the same sense of wonder we feel. In ancient times, that star might have been used to mark the time or to guide travelers at twilight. Now we use clocks and maps, yet something deep in us still responds to that spark of light appearing in the darkening sky. We take another slow breath, inhaling the cool twilight air and exhaling any lingering stress. Our bodies relax further into the gentle darkness. The heavens above grow richer with each passing minute. This is only the beginning of the night's story, a prelude set by the first stars of evening. Before long, the entire sky will be glittering with them. But for now, we cherish the simplicity of this moment. A few jewels of light on a canvas of deep blue, heralding the night's arrival. As the last hints of daylight finally slip away, we find ourselves ready to journey deeper into the night. The sky has much more to show us, and we are in the perfect state of mind to appreciate it. Tranquility has settled around us like a soft blanket. With the first stars watching over us, we gently turn our attention to the western horizon, where the colours of twilight are still fading. The sun has gone, but it has left behind a parting gift of colour and light that we will now explore. The sun vanished beneath the horizon not long ago, but its presence still lingers in the sky. We turn our gaze to the west, where daylight made its exit, and see a gentle radiance painting the low clouds and the edge of the sky. A soft amber glow hugs the horizon like a memory of the sun. Higher above that, layers of colour stretch and blend. Warm apricot fades into rose, rose into violet, and violet into the deepening blue overhead. This quiet splendour is the sun's parting gift, a final display of beauty before night fully claims the sky. We sit in silence, admiring these twilight colours. They shift subtly, even as we watch, like watercolours bleeding on paper. The brightest oranges mellow into pink, then into a dusky purple. There's a sense of calm in this slow change. It's as if the sky itself is taking a long, relaxed breath after the intensity of the day. Each passing minute, the colours soften and sink lower, following the sun beyond the horizon. A few stray clouds catch the sun's fading light, glowing pink and gold around their edges. They float lazily in the high sky, illuminated from below by light we cannot see directly anymore. For a brief moment, those clouds look like embers in the sky's fireplace, holding on to the day's last warmth. As the sun's angle dips further, even those high clouds lose their glow and turn to gentle grey silhouettes against the dimming backdrop. Facing west, we might recall how the sun looked just before it set. perhaps a huge orange-red ball touching the horizon, bathing the world in golden light. That image feels recent, yet already the day's warmth and brilliance seem like a distant memory. Now the air grows cooler on our skin. If we listen carefully, we might hear the quiet hush that falls across the land at dusk. It's as if everything is momentarily still, paying tribute to the setting sun with a respectful silence. The sky above us now is an ever-changing canvas. Along the horizon, it still glows with a fading fire, while overhead, it has become a deep indigo, sprinkled with the first stars. This contrast is mesmerizing. The dome of night descending from above, meeting the last glow of day down low. We find ourselves right at that meeting point, witnessing the balance of light and dark. In this gentle half-light, familiar surroundings appear different. Trees become dark shapes, and their leaves, once green in the sun, are now black lace against the coloured sky. Twilight has a mysterious quality. It's neither day nor night, but a world between worlds. Shadows lengthen and merge, while the sky remains softly aglow. There is enough light to see outlines of things, but not their details. Perhaps a distant hill is visible only as a quiet purple shadow now. Near us, flowers in a garden close their petals for the evening. In the gathering dusk, a white blossom, like a moonflower or jasmine, slowly unfurls, releasing a delicate fragrance into the cooling air. These subtle changes herald the transition, a gentle handover from sun to stars. As we continue to gaze westward, the colours begin to drain away further. The oranges and pinks near the horizon fade to a dim peach, then to grey-blue. Higher up, where once there was vivid purple, now lies a darkening cobalt. Over the eastern sky behind us, the darkness deepens faster. The sun's rays no longer reach there at all, and a few more stars pop into view on that side of the world. If we turn briefly east, we might even notice a soft band of deeper blue just above the opposite horizon, the Earth's shadow creeping upward. It's a subtle reminder that our own planet's silhouette is cast against the sky, bringing night with it. The fading sunlight paints the atmosphere with its last efforts. Some evenings, if the conditions are just right, the sky will blush in brilliant reds and oranges that seem to set the clouds on fire. Other nights, the colours are more pastel, gentle and subdued. Tonight's twilight feels calming and tender, a quiet goodbye from the sun. It doesn't scream with colour, but rather whispers, glowing softly like the dying embers of a cosy fire. We notice how the first stars we greeted now shine a little brighter as the sky around them darkens. Venus, if it is out tonight, gleams like a tiny beacon low in the west, hanging just above the sunset's afterglow. The presence of that planet in the coloured sky is a beautiful sight, a solitary diamond set against bands of rose and lavender. As the minutes pass, Venus edges closer to the horizon, or eventually follows the sun out of sight. But for now, it keeps us company in the twilight. There is a gentle emotion that twilight stirs, a mix of peace, gratitude, and a touch of wistfulness. Day is ending, and there is a small sadness in farewells, even to something as routine as the setting sun. But the sadness is mild and sweet, balanced by the comfort of knowing that the sun will rise again, and that in the meantime we are given the serene beauty of the night. We sit with that feeling, letting the cool colours of dusk wash over us. It's a time to reflect and to breathe out all the worries carried under the bright light of day. In this gentle twilight, a quiet sense of gratitude arises. Gratitude for the day that has passed, and for the restful night that is arriving. Above, the first faint stars grow bolder. Each time we glance upward, more appear, as if drawn out by the blanket of darkness that is slowly covering the sky. That darkness comes not abruptly, but gently, from above and from the east, as the last light lingers in the west. It's like watching the closing of an eye. The bright iris of the sun has gone, and the dusky lid of night is sliding over the sky. In the western sky now, only the palest pink remains, right at the horizon's edge. It won't last much longer. We savor it while it's there, knowing it's the final note of twilight's song. Soon, it too will fade into the night, and true darkness will settle in. We take this moment to silently thank the sun for the warmth and light of the day, and to welcome the gentle mysteries of the night that follows. Finally, only a faint trace of orange or rose remains. So faint, you'd have to remember it was once bright to even notice it now. We let that last little glow slip away. The sky above is dark, and all around us, the first stars are now joined by dozens more. Night has fully arrived in its quiet glory. With one last appreciative look at where the sun had set, now just a deep, dark blue horizon, we turn our eyes fully upward. It's time to greet the many stars and the stories they form across the sky. The moon is absent now, giving the stars free rein to shine in all their glory. Night has arrived, calm and quiet. The sun's departure is complete, and it has left us a world of starlight in exchange. With no moon to outshine them, countless stars now blanket the heavens. With the darkness settled, our eyes can see many more stars than just the first few. Above us, familiar patterns start to take shape among those countless points of light. The constellations are emerging, ready to share their ancient stories. And so, with twilight's colours now only a memory, we turn our attention upward to greet the starry figures that have come to life overhead. The sky above is now a sweeping canvas of starlight. With night fully fallen, countless stars have appeared, far more than we could possibly count. They range from the brightest diamonds to the faintest dust, all scattered across the dome of heaven. As our eyes adjust to the darkness, we begin to notice familiar groupings among these innumerable points. The constellations have truly arrived, revealing their ancient patterns overhead. We take our time scanning the sky, letting one area come into focus and then another. Just above the northern horizon, a distinctive shape catches our eye. A crooked, ladle-like arrangement of stars. It's the Big Dipper, part of a larger constellation known as the Great Bear, Ursa Major. Its bowl and handle stand out clearly in the dark. For centuries, people have looked up and recognized this pattern. Some saw a giant bear in those stars, stretching across the sky. Others imagined it as a wagon, or a plough, or a great cosmic ladle scooping up the night. Tonight, to us, it looks simply comforting and familiar, like a friendly signpost in the sky. Curving outward from the dipper's handle, we follow its graceful arc across the sky. Along this path, our eyes come to rest on a solitary bright star, gleaming in a warm hue. This is Arcturus, the brightest star in the constellation of the herdsman. Arcturus glows with a gentle orange light, like a distant ember hanging in the darkness. Its very name means guardian of the bear, because it trails behind the Great Bear constellation, as if watching over it. Seeing Arcturus reminds us that stars, like people, have unique characters. Some, like Arcturus, shine with a golden tint. Others, like the star Vega, high above, sparkle in an icy blue-white. If we look closely, we notice these colours, subtle rainbows in the night. It's fascinating to realise that the colours hint at the star's inner heat and age, but in this moment, we simply enjoy their varied lights as part of the tapestry above. From the Big Dipper's bowl, we can trace a line using its pointer stars to find another important light. Following those pointer stars outward, our gaze lands on a solitary star shining with a steady, modest glow. That is the North Star, Polaris. It isn't the brightest star in the sky, but it holds a special place, almost exactly above Earth's North Pole. As a result, while other stars journey across the sky each night, Polaris stays nearly fixed, a faithful guide to the north. Imagine how many travellers and explorers, on land and sea, have looked for Polaris to find their way. Under this quiet sky, we appreciate the gift of such a constant star. It twinkles gently, seemingly aware of its role as a celestial compass. Nearby, another pattern comes into view. Cassiopeia, shaped like a flattened W or M of stars. According to legend, Cassiopeia was a queen, and those stars outline her throne, or perhaps the crown on her head. We tilt our heads and can almost see it. The queen sitting among the stars, gazing eternally into the cosmos. In the stillness of night, it's easy to let the imagination play. The stars form connect-the-dot pictures if you let your mind fill in the lines. Perhaps we even lift a hand toward the sky, playfully tracing a shape between the stars with a finger. Connecting these celestial dots, we create our own links among the lights, feeling a small thrill as a recognizable figure emerges. Our ancestors certainly did this. They saw heroes, princesses, animals, and mythical creatures in the starry patterns. And so do we, continuing a tradition as old as humanity. Overhead, a soft, hazy band of light stretches from one horizon to the other. At first, it might be mistaken for a thin cloud, but it never moves or dissipates. This is the Milky Way, our home galaxy seen from within. It arches high above like a faint river of glowing mist. In its gentle light, there are subtle hints of texture, brighter patches and darker rifts, where thick star clouds and interstellar dust intermingle. We gaze up at this silvery band in awe. It's humbling to realize that the Milky Way's glow comes from millions upon millions of distant stars packed together. They are too far and too numerous for our eyes to distinguish individually, so their light blends into this continuous sweep. Some ancient cultures saw this band and imagined it was the spine of the night sky, or a bridge to the heavens. Others called it spilled milk from a goddess, or the smoke of campfires of the gods. To us, it simply looks magical, a permanent twilight river running through the dark. Threaded among the Milky Way's glow are countless constellations. Toward the south, we notice a large triangle formed by 3 bright stars. This asterism is called the Summer Triangle. Each of its stars belongs to its own constellation. One to the lyre, a musical harp, another to the mighty eagle, and the third to the graceful swan. We find it delightful how the swan's stars truly resemble a long neck and outstretched wings, with the bright star at its tail, marking where the bird glides along the Milky Way's path. In our mind's eye, the harp plays a silent celestial music, while the eagle soars and the swan sweeps across the night. As we continue to explore the sky, more stories unfold overhead. There, toward the east, a tight cluster of tiny stars comes into view if we focus carefully. It's the Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters, looking like a little dipper of faint blue-white lights. They have only now risen higher above the horizon, joining the night's display. An ancient story tells that these were seven sisters, pursued by the great hunter Orion. In the tale, the gods placed them in the sky for safety, and Orion eternally follows behind them, never quite catching up. We can't see Orion just yet. He will rise later in the night, with his belt of 3 stars shining proudly. But knowing this story adds a sense of continuity to the sky. The seven sisters sparkle softly, as if pleased to be seen and remembered by us below. Every direction we look, there is another constellation, another age-old picture drawn with celestial points of light. We recognize some easily, while others are more subtle, requiring a bit of imagination. Even the ones we don't know by name still stir something in us, a curiosity, an impression. Maybe a random grouping makes us think of a kite, or a dolphin, or some pattern personal to our own mind. It's a reminder that the night sky inspires creativity. The star patterns can become anything we dream. Every so often, the sky offers a little surprise. A meteor, or shooting star, flares for a brief moment. We might catch it in the corner of our vision, a slender streak of light across the darkness, gone almost as soon as we notice it. In that blink of time, we smile and perhaps make another little wish, as people often do when they see a falling star, then watch as the night returns to stillness. Such a fleeting visitor reminds us that the night sky is alive and always full of gentle surprises. What's truly amazing is that these same stars and shapes have been admired for thousands of years. When we pick out the outline of the Great Bear or the sparkle of the Seven Sisters, we are seeing basically the same sights our distant ancestors did. They may have sat around fires, looking up and telling stories about these very stars. Time and distance fall away as we share that experience. In some cultures, people believed the constellations were divine or sacred. They imagined these starry figures as gods and heroes placed into the heavens, or as celestial animals and ancestral spirits watching over the world. Around campfires and in quiet desert nights, stories of how those stars came to be were shared with reverence. Every culture painted the night with its own pictures and tales, yet all felt the same wonder when looking up. There's a gentle comfort in that thought. After all, as our lives ebb and flow, the stars endure. They shone on our distant ancestors, and they will shine on those who come long after us, offering their silent constancy through the ages. Here we are, modern people lying under an ancient sky, feeling the same wonder, making the same connections. We feel both tiny and somehow important, a small part of a much larger story. For a moment, we let ourselves feel the immensity of it all. So many stars above, and each one is a sun in its own distant realm, sending its light across space. Some of those suns might have planets and moons circling them, perhaps even beings with their own stories, though they are far beyond our reach. It's a fanciful thought, but under this expansive sky, our imagination is free to wander. The universe is vast, yet lying here under the constellations, we don't feel afraid of that vastness. Instead, it feels welcoming, like an endless realm we can explore in our minds. One particularly faint blur of light, high in the sky, catches our attention. It's not a star at all, nor part of any constellation figure, but something even more astonishing. If the night is clear enough, and you know just where to look, you can find the Andromeda Galaxy as a tiny smudge of brightness. It lies in the constellation of Andromeda, named for a celestial princess of legend, not far from the Great Square of Pegasus. It is the closest spiral galaxy to our own Milky Way, a colossal collection of stars like our galaxy, but so distant that it appears to us only as a nebulous patch. To think that our eyes can perceive a galaxy over 2 million light-years away is mind-boggling. Yet here it is, a subtle reminder of worlds and stars far beyond the ones we see directly. We marvel quietly at this delicate ghost of a galaxy, hanging there at the edge of naked-eye vision, a beacon from the deeper universe. Surrounded by all these constellations and cosmic wonders, we feel deeply at peace. The stories in the stars and the enormity of the cosmos don't overwhelm us. Instead, they put our own little worries in perspective. The night sky is like a soothing storybook written across space and time. Each constellation is a chapter, each star a word in the grand tale of the universe. As we trace these patterns with our eyes, we drift further into a relaxed, dreamlike state, content to simply be a spectator to the heavens show. Above us, the stars continue to shimmer, and slowly, imperceptibly, they begin to move along their nightly paths. If we lie here long enough, we'll notice that the constellations that were in one spot are now slightly shifted. The sky isn't static at all. It's like a giant clock slowly turning overhead. This gentle motion has been happening all the while, and soon we will tune into it. But for now, after greeting our starry companions and their age-old patterns, we simply lie back and let the beauty of the constellations wash over us. Eventually, our attention is drawn not just to the patterns themselves, but to their slow dance across the sky, a dance driven by the turning of our own Earth. Time flows gently as we lie beneath the stars. After a while, we also notice how completely relaxed our bodies have become, as if the calm of the night has settled into us. Any lingering tension has melted away into the ground beneath us. We breathe slowly and easily, in tune with the unhurried rhythm of the sky. And we begin to notice that the sky above us has changed in subtle ways. The constellations we recognized earlier are no longer in the exact spots where we first saw them. Like a great, slow-turning wheel, the entire canopy of stars is drifting from east to west. The night sky is moving, not in a hurried way, but with a stately, measured pace. It's the kind of motion you only detect if you watch patiently, or if you compare the sky now to how it was an hour or two before. We tilt our heads and realize that patterns we observed in the east are now higher overhead, and those that were high overhead have begun sliding down toward the western horizon. The Big Dipper, which earlier hung low in the northwest, has rotated further downward, its handle dipping as if pouring out the last drops of night. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, new stars that were once hidden below the horizon have risen up to join the panorama. That faint cluster of the Seven Sisters, which we spotted in the east, is now climbing higher, and with it comes the constellation of Taurus the Bull, its horns poised among the stars. Orion, the great hunter we spoke of, is at last peaking above the eastern horizon. His belt of 3 stars appears, tilted on the horizon line, as if he is slowly standing up to stride across the late-night sky. We greet Orion quietly, happy to see his familiar form emerging from the darkness right on schedule. This slow celestial migration is a nightly spectacle, caused by the rotation of our own Earth. Though we cannot feel it, the ground beneath us is turning eastward, carrying us under the stars. As the Earth spins, the sky seems to wheel overhead in the opposite direction. It's a gentle reminder that we are passengers on a moving planet. Every star's position shifts a little bit, minute by minute, as the night goes on. If we close our eyes for a short rest and open them later, the difference in the sky's arrangement is noticeable. It's as if the heavens have a grand but unhurried dance, and we are witnessing a small part of a single turn. High in the north, around the steadfast glow of Polaris, the stars make their slow circles. Constellations like Cassiopeia and the Big Dipper trace out these circles over the course of the night, pivoting around the North Star like horses on a carousel. If we could take a long exposure photograph of the night sky, those circling stars would paint bright rings around Polaris in the image, a graceful record of the Earth's turning that unfolds too slowly for our eyes to catch in the moment. Polaris itself remains almost exactly in place, a calm center around which everything else rotates. We find comfort in its stability amid the motion. It's as if Polaris is the still heart of the night sky, keeping watch while the other stars roam. To the south and above, the movement is more linear. Stars rise in the east, arc across the sky, and eventually set in the west. The entire dome of stars is turning, and over hours it noticeably changes our view. Early in the evening, a bright star might catch our attention in one spot, and a few hours later it has drifted considerably westward. This motion is very regular, like the ticking of a cosmic clock that keeps perfect time. In fact, long ago people used the stars to tell time at night, knowing that certain stars would rise or reach their highest point at specific hours. We lie back and imagine ourselves on this rotating Earth. In our minds, we picture the planet as it spins, one turn each day, carrying our little observing spot from daylight to night and back again. It's a soothing thought in a way. This motion is constant and reliable. As we watch the stars slowly shift, we feel connected to that bigger movement. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are part of it, riding along on our planet through space. From our perspective, it feels like the sky is doing the moving, yet deep down, we know it is the Earth that moves. The illusion is enchanting, though. One could easily fancy that the stars are circling us, performing an ancient ritual around the sleeping world. For thousands of years, that's exactly what people believed, that the heavens revolved around a still Earth. And while science has since shown it's the other way around, the sensation of the stars wheeling overhead remains just as magical. Knowing the truth, that we spin to face different stars, doesn't take away from the wonder. If anything, it adds another layer of appreciation. We are part of this cosmic dance, twirling along with the sky. As the night deepens, we become more attuned to these gradual changes. We might notice that the air has cooled further, and the ground is damp with dew, subtle markers of time passing. Perhaps the chorus of crickets has changed tempo, or an owl now calls from a distant tree, claiming its territory under the moving stars. These terrestrial signs mirror the quiet shift above. Every hour that goes by is written in the positions of the stars and in the nocturnal life around us. If we were to stay awake all night, we would see this slow rotation continue until eventually those stars that rose in the east will set in the west. In the hours before dawn, The Hunter Orion would dominate the southern sky, and the Big Dipper might have swung low, possibly out of sight. New constellations would rise, and some of the ones we saw just after dusk would have long set below the opposite horizon. It's a reminder that night is not static. It has its own progression, just as day does. Yet at any given moment, the change is so gentle that it never jars us. We only perceive it in hindsight, thinking, "Oh, that star was over there before." This gradual pace is part of what makes stargazing so calming. There is no sudden movement to startle the senses, only a continuous, smooth flow. It encourages us to slow down our own internal rhythms to match. We become almost as unhurried as the stars in their courses. We continue to watch Orion ascend higher, minute by minute, as if he's climbing the sky's ladder. Over to the west, some of the constellations we admired earlier are saying their goodbyes, sinking toward the horizon, where eventually they'll disappear until the next evening. Above us, the grand river of the Milky Way has rotated slightly, but it still spans the sky, maintaining its silent presence. With the sky's slow turning comes the subtle passage of time. It occurs to us that every star we see at a given moment is a marker of time as well as space. The positions of the stars overhead right now will never be exactly the same again. Not tonight, not even tomorrow night, because the Earth's orbit around the Sun shifts our view slightly each day. The cosmos we gaze upon is both eternal and ever-changing. But these changes are reassuringly cyclical. Over the course of a year, the night sky slowly trades one set of constellations for another. As our planet travels around the Sun, our window into space shifts. Orion and his neighbours dominate the winter nights, while 6 months later, in summer, they are gone from the evening sky, replaced by stars around Scorpius and the rich arc of the Milky Way's centre. Each season has its own stellar pageant, yet like clockwork, the cycle repeats. The patterns that fade will return again when their season comes around. The stars will return to these same positions next year at the same season, like old friends coming back around. We bask in the knowledge of this orderly dance. There is no chaos in the turning of the sky, only harmony and predictability. It lulls us further into relaxation to witness something so grand happening so calmly. Under this rotating vault of stars, we feel safe and cradled by the rhythms of the universe. As we appreciate the moving sky, we also begin to notice a few celestial objects that don't quite follow the same rule. Amid the constellations, there are some lights that seem out of place, not fixed to the same pattern of stars. These are the wanderers, the planets, quietly threading their own paths through the starry backdrop. Their presence is subtle. They don't stand out by moving in a single night, but over days and weeks, they shift against the constellations. Intrigued by this, we turn our attention to these special lights, the planets, which accompany the stars in the night, and yet are different from them. They too have been slowly moving across the sky this evening, drawn by the same rotation of Earth, but in the long run, they chart their own courses across the heavens. Our gaze now settles on these quiet companions, the planets, shining steadily among the twinkling stars. Among the stars sprinkled across the night, a few shine with a special kind of light. These are the planets, our quiet companions in the sky. At first glance, they might look like particularly bright stars, but if you watch them carefully, or night after night, you begin to sense their unique nature. Unlike the distant stars, these lights do not twinkle as much. They glow with a steady, serene presence. And over the weeks and months, you would notice them slowly wandering through the backdrop of constellations, charting their own leisurely course. It's no wonder ancient skywatchers called them wanderers. The very word planet comes from the old Greek term for a wandering star. Right now, as we gaze upward, a few of these planetary lights grace the darkness. Earlier this evening, we were greeted by Venus, the evening star, shining brilliantly in the twilight sky. Venus has since dipped below the horizon along with the sun, but its memory lingers, that jewel-like brightness that outshone everything else in the fading blue. Venus is often the first planet to appear at dusk, or the last to vanish at dawn when it's in its morning star phase. It's Earth's nearest planetary neighbour, and it shows itself boldly when it's above the horizon, as if to say, "Here I am, your sister world keeping watch in the twilight." We smile remembering Venus's glow, knowing it will return, tomorrow in the dawn, or another evening soon. Now that night is fully dark. Other planets have taken the stage. Toward the south, a very bright, steady beacon catches our eye. That is Jupiter, king of the planets. It radiates a clear, white light, unwavering and strong. Jupiter is higher in the sky at this hour, commanding attention among the stars around it. It's fascinating to think that this point of light is actually a massive world, hundreds of millions of miles away. Yet here it is, appearing almost as just another star to our eyes, albeit a notably bright one. In mythic terms, Jupiter was named for the king of the gods, and indeed it presides over the night with a certain regal presence, calm and grand. Not far from Jupiter, a softer golden light draws our notice. This is Saturn, the farthest planet that can be easily seen without a telescope. Saturn is not as bright as Jupiter or Venus, but once you spot its gentle amber hue, it has a subtle charm. It flickers only slightly, a dignified lantern hanging in the darkness. Ancient astronomers named it after the god of time and harvest, perhaps sensing something venerable and unhurried about its movement. Saturn takes its time crossing the sky, both nightly and through the seasons, and there's a tranquility to its glow. We imagine for a moment the magnificent rings that encircle Saturn, invisible to our eyes but very much there, and marvel that such a delicate and beautiful structure adorns that quiet dot of light. Higher overhead, and a little to the east, we find a reddish spark that stands out from the silvery white stars around it. That is Mars. Its rusty orange-red tint is distinct when you know to look for it. A tiny ember adrift in the sea of stars. Mars is smaller and currently farther from us than Jupiter or Venus, so it doesn't dazzle as brightly as those planets, but its colour gives it away. To the ancients, that blood-like red suggested fire and war, and so they named it after their god of war. But as we gaze at Mars tonight, it doesn't feel warlike or threatening. It glows peacefully, a modest dot with a warm tint, like a coal quietly glowing in the night. Knowing what we do now, that Mars is a rocky desert world with pinkish sands and ancient valleys, we see that red light and feel a connection, as if a bit of the Martian landscape's hue has travelled across space to meet our eyes. There are other planets too, though not all are visible at this moment. Mercury, the innermost planet, is a shy little wanderer that stays close to the sun. It appears only during twilight, very low near the horizon, and vanishes quickly. One would need a clear view and the right timing to catch Mercury's quick, flickering presence just after sunset or before sunrise. It was named after the fleet-footed messenger god, fitting for its swift journeys around the sun and its brief showings in our sky. Perhaps tonight, Mercury sets soon after the sun, escaping our view. but we acknowledge that it was there, however briefly, adding its light to the evening's transition. Far beyond Saturn lie Uranus and Neptune, planets unknown to the ancients and invisible to our unaided eyes. They're out there in the darkness, too faint and distant to be part of tonight's naked eye spectacle. Those worlds were discovered in more recent times with the help of telescopes, extending our family of planets further into the depths of space. We can't see them now without special equipment, but it's comforting to remember that our solar system extends even beyond what our eyes can directly behold. Each of those far-off giants silently accompanies the sun as well, completing the grand ensemble of planets that circle our star. They are present in spirit in the night sky, even if they hide from our sight, and their discovery showed us that there was more to the cosmos than what the ancients could see. As we gaze at the planets visible tonight, we consider how extraordinary it is that these wandering lights are not like the stars at all, but other worlds. They are places, not pinpoints of distant fire. Each one is a landscape, a realm with its own character and mysteries. Venus is a world blanketed in clouds, Mars a cold desert with dusty plains, Jupiter a colossal sphere of swirling storms, Saturn a jewel adorned with rings. Knowing this enriches the experience of seeing them dot the sky. When we look at Jupiter shining steadily, we imagine for a moment the 4 bright moons that dance around it, moons that Galileo first saw through his telescope long ago. The thought that a tiny solar system exists around that point of light fills us with awe. Looking at Saturn, we picture those ethereal rings catching the sunlight out there in the void, making that planet more than just a pinpoint of light to our minds. Yet even without envisioning these details, the planets hold a special fascination. They move through a path in the sky known as the ecliptic, sticking to a band of constellations we call the zodiac. Unlike the fixed stars, which hold their patterns, the planets slowly wander along this band, visiting constellation after constellation as the months go by. One month, Mars might linger among the stars of Taurus, and by another month, it has ambled into Gemini. Jupiter might spend a year in one constellation before moving on to the next. This slow dance means that each night when we look up, the stage is slightly changed. The planets are the actors that shift roles, while the starry constellations are the backdrop scenery. Tonight's arrangement is just one scene in an ongoing play. If we come out another night next week or next month, these planets will have inched to new positions, like pieces on a cosmic chessboard. But their changes are subtle and graceful, never disrupting the tranquility of the night. In a single evening, a planet appears almost fixed among the stars. Only through patience and memory can we catch its drift. We find that notion comforting. Even the wandering stars take their time, teaching us the value of moving through life at a measured pace. We also notice how the light of the planets feels different from that of the stars. The stars, being blazing suns, unimaginably far away, send us light that often twinkles as it filters through our atmosphere. The planets, by contrast, shine with the reflected light of our own sun, and being so much closer, they appear as steadier glows. It's a calmer light, echoing the sun that we know so well. In a way, seeing the planets is like sensing the presence of our sun out in the night, gently illuminating its far-flung children and reminding us that daylight still exists out there somewhere. The sun has gone from our sky, but its family of planets remains visible, each one a tiny mirror catching a bit of sunlight and sending it our way. As we identify each planet in turn, we feel a kinship with them. They orbit the same sun that gives us life. They share space with us in this solar system, siblings in the cosmic family. When we gaze at them, we're looking across the enormous distances of space. Yet in cosmic terms, these neighbours are right next door compared to the stars. The light from Jupiter or Mars left the sun only a matter of hours ago, reflected off the planet, and travelled through space to reach us here. That realization makes the night feel a little more intimate. Space doesn't seem so empty, knowing these neighbouring worlds are out there shining alongside the stars. It's incredible to think that for all of history, humans have looked up at these wandering stars and spun tales about them, worshipped them, tracked their motions, and wondered what they were. And now we stand here, fortunate to know more about their true nature. Yet the wonder is still the same. The planets invite us to ponder other realms, what it would be like to stand on Mars under an alien sky, or to see a sunrise from Saturn's cloud tops. Such thoughts drift through our minds like gentle dreams while we lie under the open sky. We take a long, slow breath and absorb the sight of the planets sprinkled among the stars. They appear so small, so gentle in the night, yet they represent whole worlds of unimaginable detail. In our relaxed state, we don't feel the need to rush these thoughts. We simply let them float by, like clouds across our consciousness. It's enough to know that those worlds are there, moving along in the darkness, keeping us company across the void. The night feels deeper and calmer than ever with the planets in view. They add depth to the starry scene, a sense of structure and companionship. Without them, the stars themselves are beautiful, but with the planets among them, we sense the solar system around us. We belong to the night sky as much as to the earth, and the planets subtly bridge the gap between our home and the distant stars. As the hour grows late, we find ourselves grateful for the sight of these quiet wanderers. Their soft light has been a gentle guide for travellers and dreamers through the ages, and tonight they have guided us further into a state of serenity. The world of daytime concerns feels very far away now. Here in the dark, under the ever-turning sky, with planets and stars above, we feel cradled by the cosmos. Perhaps as we drift towards sleep, our imagination will carry us on voyages to these distant worlds. We can almost feel the soft crunch of Martian soil under our feet as we wander beneath a salmon-pink sky, the sun appearing as a smaller, gentler orb than we're used to. We might find ourselves on a moon of Jupiter, standing on icy ground as we gaze up at that enormous banded planet dominating the sky, its great red spot swirling silently. Or maybe we'll float through Saturn's rings, each piece of ice and rock glinting like a tiny moon, as we glide in slow motion, the pale golden sphere of Saturn rising beyond the ring plane. In the theatre of our mind, we could even drift further out, imagining the turquoise haze of Uranus or the deep cobalt blue clouds of Neptune, worlds so far away that the sun is just a distant spark. These flights of fancy come gently and naturally as we lie here, and we let them pass through our thoughts like a delicate breeze. The planets invite us to dream and to explore, all while our bodies remain relaxed and still. Even as we lie here, we know our exploration doesn't truly end. If we desire, we can drift further into the cosmos with our imagination. We might choose to travel in our mind to those planets and beyond, uncovering their secrets, one gentle voyage at a time. There is always more to discover, and no rush at all. We can embark whenever we're ready, continuing this calm cosmic journey, for as long as we like. And even when we end our stargazing for tonight, we know the calm of the cosmos is always there, waiting for us whenever we wish to return to it. For now, we simply cherish the peace we have found under the stars, knowing that it's always above us whenever we need it. The universe is vast, and our journey through it can continue as long as we wish. Night has fully fallen by now, and a deep tranquility has settled over the landscape. Perhaps you are lying on your back, wrapped in a warm blanket, looking up at the infinity of stars sprinkled above. The air is cool and still. In the distance, only a faint whisper of wind in the trees or the gentle rhythm of waves on a shore can be heard. Overhead, countless stars shimmer and blink, their ancient light just now meeting your eyes. It's a peaceful feeling, as if the universe itself is watching over you while you rest. The night sky stretches above us, like a silent ocean of stars. In the stillness, one constellation gradually draws our gaze. Low in the east, 3 stars neatly lined in a row announce the presence of Orion, the hunter. As our eyes adjust to the darkness, the full figure of Orion emerges, a mighty celestial hunter raising his arm, with a belt of 3 bright jewels shining across his middle. This ancient pattern rises higher on crisp winter evenings, commanding the sky with a quiet and familiar brilliance. Overhead, Orion's brightest stars glimmer with distinct colours against the dark canvas. At one shoulder of the hunter glows Betelgeuse, a massive star with a gentle red-orange hue that flickers softly, like a warm ember in the cold night. Diagonally opposite, marking Orion's knee, shines Rigel, icy blue-white and brilliant, a sparkling counterpoint to Betelgeuse's rosy light. Between them lie the trio of belt stars, Mintaka, Alnilam, and Alnitak, strung evenly in a line, unmistakable and guiding our eyes. This celestial figure stands tall and proud, its stars twinkling like distant lanterns watching over the winter landscape. Just below Orion's 3 belt stars, a different kind of jewel is tucked into the night. Here hangs Orion's sword, a line of fainter stars that descend from his belt. If you gaze carefully in a dark sky, you might notice one of the stars in the sword isn't sharp at all, but rather a tiny patch of haze. In binoculars or a small telescope, this hazy spot blossoms into a softly glowing cloud. This is the Orion Nebula, a vast stellar nursery where new stars are being born. Within that mist of light, countless infant suns are igniting, illuminating the surrounding gas with a gentle luminescence. It's as though, at the tip of Orion's sword, creation itself is taking place quietly, hidden to the naked eye but ongoing all the same, adding to the cosmic wonder of the winter sky. Stories of Orion have been whispered by countless generations gazing at these stars, adding a mythic personality to the constellation's sparkle. In Greek lore, Orion was a towering hunter of great pride and skill who roamed the ancient world. One tale recounts that he boasted no creature could ever defeat him, a claim that did not go unnoticed by the gods. In answer, the Earth goddess sent forth a small scorpion to test the mighty hunter's bravado. Despite Orion's strength, the tiny creature managed to sting him, proving that even the mighty can be humbled by the small. As the story goes, the gods, moved by what transpired, placed Orion among the stars as a glittering memorial to the fallen hunter. The scorpion was set in the sky as well, becoming the constellation Scorpius. To this day, the two remain apart in the heavens. When the Scorpion stars rise on warm summer nights, Orion's form slips below the horizon, as if eternally retreating from his old adversary. Ancient sky watchers took comfort in this celestial choreography, seeing in it a balance, a reminder that boasting yields to humility, and that the grandest figures still must yield to time and season. Orion does not wander the heavens alone. Close by are his faithful hunting dogs, represented by two smaller constellations that follow at his heels. The larger hound, Canis Major, is home to Sirius, the brightest star in the entire night sky, which sparkles with a vivid intensity like a diamond on black velvet. Just above, the little dog Canis Minor holds Procyon, another bright star keeping watch. Together with Orion's red shoulder and blue foot, Sirius and Procyon form a great triangle of winter stars, surrounding the hunter as he strides across the night. Below Orion, one can even imagine a small hare, the constellation Lepus, eternally crouching by his feet as if in a gentle chase. All these companions glow in concert with Orion, decorating the winter sky. It is a quiet, sparkling drama played out among the stars. Under Orion's watchful presence, the winter night feels a little less lonely. There is a reassurance in seeing his familiar outline high above, just as countless people throughout history have seen it and told stories about it. On crisp nights, the hunter and his sparkling companions seem to twinkle in silent camaraderie with those below, linking us to ancient sky gazers who once looked up in wonder. As hours pass and Orion marches westward, we are reminded of the steady rhythm of the heavens, a cosmic procession that continues night after night, gently guiding our imaginations among the stars. The great hunter eventually bows out toward the horizon, and in the quiet that follows his departure, our gaze wanders to another region of the sky. High in the northern sky, another prominent figure quietly presides. The constellation Cassiopeia draws the eye with 5 bright stars that form a distinctive zigzag pattern, like a sprawling letter W against the sprinkle of the Milky Way. This celestial W is often imagined as the outline of a cosmic throne, befitting Queen Cassiopeia from ancient myth, who sits eternally among the stars. While Orion strides across the southern heavens, Cassiopeia keeps vigil in the north, her starry throne circling patiently around Polaris, the North Star, each night. Cassiopeia's story, born from Greek mythology, is intertwined with both vanity and lesson. She was said to be a beautiful queen who boasted that either she or her daughter surpassed even the sea nymphs in loveliness. This prideful claim angered the ocean god Poseidon, setting in motion a tale of consequence. It was a cautionary tale even among the stars. In the myth, to appease the offended gods, Cassiopeia's daughter Andromeda was bound to a coastal rock as a sacrifice to a sea monster, a drastic price for a mother's vanity. Yet the drama found resolution. The hero Perseus intervened, saving Andromeda from the creature's jaws and later taking her hand in marriage. As for Cassiopeia, legend tells that the gods placed her in the sky as a reminder of humility. Her constellation forever wheels around the North Star, and for part of each night, the once proud queen hangs upside down on her throne, a gentle celestial punishment that makes her appear at times to tumble headfirst through the stars. Cassiopeia's constellation does not stand alone in telling her tale. Surrounding her in the night sky are other constellations that complete the ancient story. Her husband, King Cepheus, occupies a dimmer patch of stars nearby, also circling the pole. The royal couple twirls around the North Star together through the night. Their daughter, Princess Andromeda, stretches out in a line of stars that extends eastward from Cassiopeia. Not far from Andromeda's stars is a faint blur of light. The Andromeda Galaxy, a distant world of stars that appears as a hazy patch to keen-eyed observers, adding depth to the scene. Meanwhile, Perseus, the hero who saved Andromeda, shines to the east of her. Even the great sea monster Cetus is said to lurk low on the southern horizon. Together, these constellations form a celestial tableau, as if the drama of queen, king, princess, and hero were carefully placed in the sky to be retold each clear night. Each night, Cassiopeia wheels around the North Star, completing a slow circle in the sky every 24 hours. Sometimes she appears high overhead, proudly upright on her throne. Hours later, you might find her tipped on her side, or even upside down, low in the north, the W shape becoming more like an M. This gentle turning is a result of the Earth's rotation, giving the illusion that Cassiopeia is somersaulting through the night. In truth, she and her neighbouring constellations never rise or set for those of us at northern latitudes. They are circumpolar, forever present, gracefully pivoting around Polaris. There is something comforting in this eternal dance. No matter the hour or season, Cassiopeia is somewhere in the north, slowly circling, a reliable beacon of myth and starlight. On a dark, moonless night, Cassiopeia's stars sparkle like a handful of jewels strewn across the sky. One of her brightest stars, named Shada, glows with a subtle golden hue, perhaps befitting a queen's star at the heart of her throne. Another star, Kaf, shines a cooler white, and together the 5 main stars sketch the unmistakable zigzag shape. Stargazers sometimes imagine this W as a crown or a garland of 5 bright gems adorning the sky. Through binoculars, the background around Cassiopeia comes alive with even more stars, and star clusters hidden to the naked eye peek out, enriching the view. It is a lovely spot to rest your gaze, letting the mind wander to royal thrones and ancient legends, while the faint band of the Milky Way glows behind, full of distant wonders. Now, leaving our celestial queen to her eternal circling vigil, we shift our perspective to skies of the far south, where a new guide star awaits. Now our journey guides us beneath far southern skies, where a different set of stars becomes our guide. Imagine standing on a tranquil night in the southern hemisphere, perhaps on a quiet hill, or by the sea, with warm air gently stirring. Low in the sky, you notice a small but striking pattern of 4 stars, shining like a celestial jewel. They form a neat little cross suspended in the darkness. This is the Southern Cross, a compact constellation that has long captured the hearts of those living under southern nights. Cradled amid the rich star clouds of the Milky Way, the cross gleams as if set against a river of faint starlight, a reassuring marker in an unfamiliar sky for newcomers to these latitudes. For ages, the Southern Cross has served as a stellar compass for travellers below the equator. Unlike in the north, there is no single bright star marking the south celestial pole, so navigators turn to this cross of stars for guidance. By drawing an imaginary line through the long axis of the cross and extending it downward, one can find the point in the sky that marks due south. Using this method, sailors of old charted their courses across the vast southern oceans, and desert wanderers found their bearings on starry nights. Even today, learning to locate south by the Southern Cross is a beloved bit of knowledge passed down, a gentle reminder of how the stars can lead us safely home. As you gaze at the Southern Cross, you might notice subtle hues in its stars. The top star of the cross, Gacrux, has a faint reddish tint, while the bottom star, Acrux shines a brilliant blue-white, a lovely contrast in colour. Nearby, a famous dark patch of sky called the Coal-Sack Nebula reveals itself as an ink-black void where the Milky Way's starry backdrop disappears. This dark nebula is part of the lore too. Some Aboriginal Australians see it as the head of an enormous celestial emu formed by the darkness rather than the stars. The Southern Cross itself is relatively small in apparent size, but it stands out boldly, unmistakable in a sky crowded with stars. Its compact shape and bright points make it one of the first constellations new observers learn to recognize under southern skies. The stars of the Southern Cross have inspired many tales and symbols. European voyagers sailing into southern waters long ago looked up and saw a crucifix in the sky, a heavenly sign of their faith guiding them through unknown seas. But the peoples native to those southern lands had their own far older interpretations of this constellation. For some Aboriginal Australians, these stars formed the shape of a stingray gliding across the heavens, eternally pursued by two shark-like stars nearby, the pointer stars in the sky. To the Maori of New Zealand, the cross was Tapunga, the anchor of a great celestial canoe. They say this anchor in the sky helped guide their seafaring ancestors safely across the vast Pacific Ocean. In parts of South America, some indigenous peoples imagined these stars as the footprint of a great rhea bird pressed into the firmament. According to their lore, the four stars mark where the mythical bird's foot touched the heavens during a cosmic hunt. Each culture, gazing up at this small but vivid constellation, found something familiar and guiding in its sparkle, weaving their own wisdom and imagination into the stars. Across the South Pacific and beyond, the Southern Cross became more than just a pattern in the sky. It became a symbol on Earth as well. Several countries in the Southern Hemisphere, including Australia and New Zealand, feature the cross on their national flags. To the people of those lands, it is a proud reminder of home and the guidance of the night sky. Even for those without a flag to claim it, the sight of the cross can feel like a comforting southern signature, a pattern unique to those latitudes, shining on all who live beneath its span. One can easily imagine a lone traveller in the outback, or a sailor on the open ocean, pausing to find the Southern Cross. Under a sprawling dome of stars, that little cross becomes a friendly face in the darkness, offering orientation and assurance. For centuries, its presence has calmed the anxious and guided the lost. Even when modern tools make navigation easier, there is something deeply reassuring about looking up and seeing those four stars still pointing the way. They remind us that, no matter how far from home we wander, we share the same sky and can find our direction by the age-old lights above. Now our eyes drift to a delicate cluster of stars high overhead, a tiny gathering that has fascinated humans for untold generations. Turning our gaze to another enchanting sight, we find a tiny cluster of stars peeking out from the darkness. On a clear night, away from city lights, you might notice what looks like a delicate cloud or a sprinkling of dusty diamonds in the sky. This little misty patch, when focused on directly, begins to resolve into a tight gathering of faint stars. In the darkness, it beckons the curious eye to discern its secrets. Known as the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, this cluster is like a small treasure chest of stars shimmering in the blackness. It is so compact that it could almost fit in the palm of your hand if you could reach out and pluck it from the sky. It has long been said that the number of these sister stars you can see with the naked eye depends on the darkness of the night and the sharpness of your vision. Spotting 6 of the sisters is common. Seeing 7 is an achievement. More than that is a rare gift, reserved for only the keenest eyes. According to Greek legend, the Pleiades were 7 sisters, the daughters of the Titan Atlas and the sea nymph Pleione. The story tells that the great hunter Orion, enchanted by their beauty, pursued these sisters relentlessly across the earth. To protect them, Zeus transformed the sisters into doves and placed them in the heavens as a tight-knit cluster of stars. Orion himself was later set among the stars, and he continues his chase eternally. Even now, his constellation rises in the sky after the Pleiades, as if hunting them through the night. Curiously, most people can only discern 6 stars clearly in the cluster with the naked eye. Mythology offers an explanation. According to some legends, one of the 7 sisters is dimmer, or hidden from view. Some say she fell in love with a mortal man, and that her star's light fades out of shame. Others say she hides in sorrow, which is why only 6 sisters shine brightly to our eyes. The Pleiades have captivated sky watchers in every corner of the globe, inspiring an astonishing variety of myths and meanings. In Australian Aboriginal lore, for example, this cluster is seen as a group of young women being pursued by a celestial hunter, a tale that uncannily mirrors the Greek story, despite originating half a world away. Many other cultures likewise envisioned these stars as a band of siblings or close companions. To the ancient Maya of Central America, the Pleiades formed part of the tail of a great rattlesnake in the sky. To the Kiowa people of North America, they were once children who escaped from a giant bear by climbing a tall rock. The heavens took pity on them and transformed them into a cluster of stars, safe from harm and huddled together forever above. Across generations and cultures, people have looked to the Pleiades, not only for storytelling, but also as a cosmic calendar. In New Zealand, the Maori people celebrate the rise of the Pleiades, which they call Matariki, as the herald of a new year, weaving this celestial event into their cultural calendar. Early farmers in Europe carefully watched the Pleiades to guide the seasons of sowing and harvest. The cluster's first appearance in the pre-dawn sky each spring signaled time to plant, and its fading in the evening sky each autumn warned of winter's approach. Such traditions show how deeply these stars have been linked to cycles of agriculture and survival. Indeed, the legend of the 7 sisters may be among humanity's oldest tales, shared by our ancestors across continents under the same night sky. In each telling, the details differ, but the themes of family, pursuit, and change echo through the ages, a testament to the timeless wonder it inspires. The story of the 7 sisters continues to unite people under the night sky. Beyond the lore and legend, the Pleiades are truly a family of stars in a physical sense. Modern astronomy reveals that these sister stars were born together from the same immense cloud of gas and dust, and they remain bound together, drifting through the galaxy like a cluster of celestial siblings. They are relatively young stars, only around 100 million years old, mere youngsters by the standards of stellar lifespans, which is why they shine with a hot blue-white glow. This stellar family resides about 400 light-years from Earth, so the gentle radiance we see tonight began its journey toward us centuries ago, around the time our own ancestors first gazed up and told stories about these stars. If you peer at the Pleiades through binoculars or a small telescope, dozens of fainter stars that hug the brighter sisters come into view, expanding the cluster's glittering population. Long exposure photographs even reveal a gauzy blue mist enshrouding the brightest stars, likely cosmic dust that these stars are illuminating, like a delicate veil draped over them. To the unaided eye, however, the Pleiades retain their simple, subtle beauty, a tiny dipper of 6 or 7 twinkling points. On crisp nights, this little cluster hangs high in the heavens, quiet and alluring, inviting us to ponder how seamlessly science and myth can entwine. Here are youthful stars, still wrapped in a cosmic cloud, yet carrying stories as old as civilization. As our journey through the night sky continues, Polaris remains above, quietly guiding and grounding us. With our minds now calm and our senses attuned to the night, we seek out that one steady star that has guided travelers throughout history. Our gaze now turns to a singular star that has guided wayfarers for millennia. High in the northern sky, almost directly above the Earth's axis, shines Polaris, the North Star. Unlike the other stars which wheel across the heavens each night, Polaris remains nearly fixed in place, anchoring the entire sky. For anyone lost in darkness, this modest-looking star has long been a beacon of hope and orientation. Though not the brightest of stars, it holds a position of great honor. It is the very star that points to the north, a tiny light with a mighty roll. Polaris resides at the tip of the tail of the Little Bear, the constellation Ursa Minor. This constellation, also known as the Little Dipper, is faint but traceable if you know where to look. Polaris itself shines with a steady, gentle glow. It is not among the very brightest stars in the sky, yet it stands out because it sits alone in a relatively empty patch of darkness. If you have trouble identifying Polaris directly, there is a simple guide. Locate the Big Dipper, that bright, ladle-shaped group of stars in Ursa Major. The 2 stars at the end of the Big Dipper's bowl, called the pointers, draw an imaginary line across the sky. Follow that line out about 5 times the distance between those pointer stars, and it will lead your eyes to Polaris. Finding this star can feel like discovering a faithful friend in the sky. Once you spot it, you know where north is, and suddenly the world has orientation. Even the legends of the North Star emphasize its steadfast nature. In Greek mythology, Polaris lies in the constellation of the Little Bear because of an ancient tale. The story tells of a beautiful nymph, Callisto, who was transformed into a bear and later placed among the stars by Zeus, along with her young son. They became the Great Bear and Little Bear in the sky. Polaris marks the tip of the Little Bear's tail. In one poetic interpretation, this is where the child holds on as the mother bear leads him through the heavens. Unlike many other constellations, these bears never dip below the horizon. The Greeks said they never got to rest in the ocean, reflecting how they circle endlessly around the pole. Thus, even in myth, Polaris and its surrounding stars were symbols of constancy, forever turning but never vanishing. Throughout human history, Polaris has been a trusted guide. Ancient seafarers navigating uncharted waters relied on it to find their bearings when the sun had set, and only stars remained to steer by. Phoenician traders crossing the Mediterranean and Viking explorers braving the North Atlantic watched the North Star to ensure they kept a true course. In desert expanses, far from any landmarks, travelers would orient themselves by Polaris, knowing that star always pointed north. In East Asia, Chinese astronomers regarded Polaris as the heavenly emperor around which the cosmos revolved. They called it the pivot of heaven, believing it to be the seat of a celestial ruler, calm and immovable, while all other stars danced in a circle around it. To them, Polaris was the steadfast center of the sky. Many cultures developed names for this star: Stella Maris, the star of the sea; Dhruva Tara, the fixed star; al-Rukaba in ancient Arabic, each reflecting its guiding role and steady presence. Even those who never learned the formal art of navigation instinctively recognized the North Star's significance. In the folklore of the American South, enslaved people escaping to freedom looked to Polaris as a guiding light. For them, this unchanging star in the north was a heavenly compass pointing the way to a new life. They followed the path of the Big Dipper, known in code as the Drinking Gourd, for it would lead them to the North Star and northward to safety. On countless dark nights, weary feet trudged through forests and fields under starry skies. Again and again, eyes would lift to find that little star fixed ahead, giving a steady sense of direction when every other reference point on Earth was lost. To those freedom seekers, Polaris shone as a beacon of hope, its constancy whispering that they were on the right path, guiding them ever northward. Such stories illustrate how deeply the North Star is woven into the human narrative of journey and salvation. Far across the oceans, Polynesian wayfinders also took note of Polaris, even though it hovered low on the horizon from their island homes. They named it Hoku Pa'a, the fixed star, and included it in their star compasses as a stable northern pointer. Using an intricate knowledge of stars rising and setting, these navigators crossed vast distances of the Pacific with no instruments, guided only by the night sky. For them, Polaris was one anchor point among many, indicating when they had sailed far north or helping to orient their canoes at night. Imagine a navigator in a double-hulled canoe, lying on his back in the open sea and reading the pattern of stars. He notes Polaris glimmering at the edge of his view and knows his vessel's heading is true. The North Star, though low on their horizon, still served as a reassuring reference point as they ventured into unknown waters. Across cultures, whether on land or sea, the North Star quietly helped steer voyagers onward. There is something profoundly comforting about Polaris's constancy. Night after night, year after year, it occupies nearly the same spot in the sky. All the other stars appear to wheel around it in great circles as the hours and seasons pass. If you were to take a long exposure photograph of the northern sky, the other stars would draw circular trails, while Polaris would remain a point near the center, the still hub of the celestial clock. To generations of humans, this predictable presence has offered a sense of stability amid change. Poets have likened the North Star to a loyal guardian or a fixed point in a turning world. Even as life on Earth shifts and voyages lead into the unknown, Polaris shines with the same light that guided our ancestors. In that thought lies a gentle reassurance. Some things remain steady through the flux of time. Under Polaris's unblinking watch, one can feel a connection to all the travelers of ages past who have stood under these stars for guidance. When we find the North Star, we are gazing at the very same light that led explorers across oceans, that comforted those far from home, and that still signals true north to anyone who seeks it. As our journey through the night sky continues, Polaris remains above, quietly guiding and grounding us. It reminds us that even as we drift deeper into the realm of stars and dreams, there is always a steady point to orient ourselves by. With that gentle assurance overhead, we can relax further, letting the expansive sky carry our thoughts onward to whatever celestial wonder might come next. Now our journey shifts, focus from the far-off stars to our closer celestial companions, the planets. Sprinkled among the constellations, these bright wanderers slowly change their positions from night to night, Ancient observers watched them with fascination, noting how unlike the fixed stars, they would meander across the sky. In this next quiet chapter of the night, we will follow the planets in their courses, beginning with those that linger near the sun's glow and moving outward to the giants in the deep sky. As the twilight deepens and the first stars begin to peek through the fading glow, the western horizon still glows with a gentle amber afterlight of the sun. In this quiet, after sunset, a tiny amber spark hovers low on the horizon. This is Mercury, the innermost planet. Mercury is a shy wanderer, often lost in the sun's afterglow, appearing only briefly during dusk or dawn. It stays so close to the sun's path that it never strays far from daylight, making it a rare prize for patient eyes. When it does emerge, Mercury glimmers with a subtle golden blush against the twilight, sometimes twinkling as it peers through the dense atmosphere near the horizon. Only during certain special times does Mercury venture a little farther from the sun's glare, climbing just high enough to be seen in a darkening sky. Even then, it remains a modest pinprick of light that demands a clear view and careful attention. Mercury never strays more than a few handspans from the sun, about 28 degrees at most, a child of twilight that sticks close to its parent star. It is no wonder that Mercury has been called elusive, an ancient celestial messenger dashing swiftly around the sun, fittingly named after the winged messenger of the gods. One famous astronomer, Copernicus, is said to have lamented never glimpsing Mercury at all in his lifetime, so hidden it was in the sunlit glow. In truth, Mercury races around the sun in only 88 days, a whirlwind orbit that causes it to change its position rapidly relative to Earth. Because of this speedy journey, Mercury never lingers in one part of the sky for very long. Within a few weeks, it can shift from a brief appearance low in the west at sunset to a fleeting cameo in the east before dawn. In the blink of a cosmic eye, the tiny planet swaps its role from evening star to morning star and back again, always in a hurry. Imagine yourself peering low into the glow of dusk, knowing Mercury is there waiting to be found. The evening air is warm and still, and a gentle hush has fallen after the sunset chorus of birds. The horizon still holds a faint orange light as you scan carefully above it. At first, nothing catches your eye, just the deepening blue and a few early stars higher up. But then, just when you think Mercury might elude you, a tiny glint emerges against the twilight canvas. You blink and focus and realize you've caught it, a delicate spark shining for a short moment before nightfall. It feels like a small victory, a connection across space and time to the fleeting little planet hugging the sun. Mercury itself is a small, cratered globe scorched by the sun, but from Earth it will always appear as a shy flicker of light hugging the horizon. While Mercury darts quickly and often escapes notice, another luminous presence frequently commands the twilight sky's attention. Venus, the second planet from the sun, gleams far brighter and steadier, often earning the title of evening star or morning star. When the sun slips below the horizon, Venus is typically the first light to appear against the dimming blue, a brilliant, silvery beacon hanging in the west. Its glow is so strong that it shines through twilight with ease, radiating a calm and constant light that does not flicker like a distant star. For a few hours each evening, when Venus is in the night sky, it hangs like a lone lantern in the twilight, slowly following the sun toward the horizon. Long after sunset, colors have faded and the sky turns deep indigo. Venus continues to blaze, outshining every star. Only the moon, when it graces the sky, can compete with Venus in brightness. In a moonless dusk, the planet's radiance is so pronounced that on the darkest of nights, it can even cast the faintest of shadows, a delicate glow that hints at its power across the vast distance. It is so bright that if you know exactly where to look, you can even glimpse Venus in broad daylight as a tiny white speck in the blue sky. On some evenings, a slender crescent moon hangs near Venus, and together they paint an especially enchanting portrait in the twilight sky. When Venus shifts to the morning sky, it becomes the herald of dawn. In the silent hours before sunrise, you may find it rising in the east, a brilliant point of light adorning the cold pre-dawn darkness. The stars around it begin to fade as day approaches, but Venus holds on, blazing defiantly against the brightening sky. It is often the last celestial light to vanish, lingering until the growing glow of morning finally washes it from view. It greets early risers like a silent beacon, offering companionship in the final hours of night. For ancient sky watchers, Venus was a source of mystery and wonder. They observed that this star could appear on one side of the sky at evening and then on the opposite side at dawn during different times of the year. Early civilizations even gave it two names, one for its evening guise and another for its morning form, not realizing at first that both were the same object. The Maya priests, for example, charted Venus's appearances with great precision and wove them into their calendars and prophecies. In time, Venus's true nature as a single wandering planet became clear, and it was fittingly named after the goddess of love and beauty, shining as one of the most beautiful sights in the heavens. To the unaided eye, Venus always appears as a dazzling point, but with a small telescope, or even binoculars, you might notice it has phases like the moon. Sometimes it appears as a tiny full disk when it is on the far side of the sun, and other times as a large slender crescent when it comes closer to Earth. At first, it can be startling to realize that this brilliant star can appear as a delicate crescent shape, almost like a miniature moon in the distance. These changing shapes are a silent testament to Venus's orbit around the Sun, and they enchanted early astronomers like Galileo, who realized that this planet circles the Sun just as our moon circles Earth. Even without optical aid, simply knowing that this glittering star is in fact a neighboring world wrapped in clouds adds an extra layer of wonder as you gaze at its steady light. Now imagine a clear evening where the daylight has just faded. The air is mild, and a few crickets may have started their nightly song as darkness gathers. High above the place where the sun set, Venus emerges and catches your eye. As darkness deepens, that one point of light grows sharper and more silver against the indigo sky. Perhaps you are by a still lake or on a quiet hilltop. Venus twinkles gently, and maybe its light even shimmers in the water's reflection or above the silhouetted trees. You feel a sense of companionship from this evening star. Long after sunset, it remains there watching over the night, a steady beacon that seems almost to welcome the stars around it. Hidden beneath Venus's silvery glow is a scorching world wrapped in clouds of acid, but we know it simply as the lovely star of evening and morning. As the night deepens and Venus sinks out of sight, other wandering stars take center stage high above. 3 bright planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, roam among the constellations with a slower, stately grace. These worlds lie farther from the Sun than Venus and Mercury, and they appear in the fully dark sky, shining like jeweled lamps against the backdrop of stars. Each has its own distinct color and character. The ruddy glow of Mars, the bold golden white shine of Jupiter, and the subdued amber twinkle of Saturn. Together, they move through the heavens on grand, elongated orbits, their progress measured not in days or weeks, but in many months and years. Mars stands out with a distinct rusty orange glow, unmistakable among the white stars. To the unaided eye, it appears as a steady ember burning in the darkness, a tiny disk of ruddy light that does not twinkle much. At times, when Mars and Earth draw close every 2 years, this planet flares intensely bright, rivaling even Jupiter in the sky. In those moments, Mars can become the dominant light of the late evening, its red-orange beacon capturing human imagination as it has for millennia. It is no surprise that the ancients named Mars after a god of war, inspired by the blood-like tint of its light. But when Mars journeys to the far side of its orbit, it dwindles to a modest speck once more, barely distinguishable from the background stars. Interestingly, one bright star, Antares in the constellation of Scorpius, earned its name, meaning rival of Mars, because its own red twinkle can resemble Mars's appearance when the planet passes nearby. Mars's rust-red colour comes from iron-rich sands on its surface, literal rusty dust giving the planet its blood-like hue. Yet Mars does not always behave like the other stars that march steadily across the sky. If you observe Mars over many nights, you normally see it drift slowly eastward against the background of distant stars. But roughly once every 2 years, something curious happens. Mars appears to slow, then stop, and even move backward, westward, for a short while before resuming its forward path. This gentle loop or backward slide is known as retrograde motion. To ancient observers, this was a puzzling dance in the heavens. Today we know that the backtracking is only an illusion, occurring when Earth, on its swifter inner orbit, overtakes Mars and briefly leaves it behind. During such a time, Mars only seems to reverse course from our perspective, even though it keeps moving steadily in its orbit. Watching Mars during a retrograde period is mesmerizing. The planet appears to trace a delicate, hesitant loop among the stars. It is as if Mars grows momentarily unsure of its course before gracefully continuing on its journey around the Sun. On a certain late summer night, you might find Mars rising in the east, glowing with a fiery brightness. The late summer air is still and warm, and an orange tint seems to colour the horizon as the planet makes its entrance. It appears larger and redder than you remember, outshining most stars around it. You stand under the sky and feel almost the heat of its colour, like a distant ember. This is Mars, near its closest approach, when Earth and Mars share the night, and the planet's rusty hue is vivid and strong. It's easy to understand why ancient people marvelled and perhaps felt uneasy at the sight of this red, wandering star. Yet as you gaze at it now, you feel wonder more than fear. A distant world, shining steadily in its own reflected sunlight, moving in its eternal orbit around the Sun, just as we do. Jupiter commands attention whenever it is above the horizon. This giant planet shines with a bold, creamy white light, often the brightest point in the night after the Moon and Venus. It gleams steadily, hardly twinkling, a testament to its sheer size and reflective cloud tops far away. Jupiter's presence has a majestic quality, fitting for a planet named after the king of the gods, and it moves on a grand timescale. Taking nearly 12 years to circle the sky, Jupiter shifts only gradually from one constellation to the next, its stately progress noticeable only over many months. When Jupiter is high and the night is dark, it feels like a guardian star overseeing the heavens, calm and unblinking. Beneath Jupiter's calm light, enormous storms swirl in its cloud belts, including a great red spot that has raged for centuries. but from our distance, it appears as a placid beacon. Gazing at Jupiter through a steady pair of binoculars or a small telescope brings another delight. Tiny sparkles of light nearby, lined up alongside it. These are the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, discovered long ago by Galileo. They orbit the giant planet like a miniature solar system, periodically disappearing behind Jupiter or casting shadows on its cloud tops. Even without seeing them directly, it's awe-inspiring to know they are there. 4 distant worlds circling a colossal globe. Sometimes, if you watch over a single night, you might notice the positions of these moons change, a gentle cosmic ballet unfolding before your eyes. Such sights reinforce Jupiter's status as a world of immense scale and splendor, accompanied by loyal companions on its journey through the stars. Now turn your gaze to Jupiter, shining high and bright. The night air feels cool and clear, perfect for stargazing under a dark sky. With the naked eye, it gleams steady and white, commanding attention among the stars. You decide to take a closer look through binoculars or a small telescope. Suddenly, Jupiter's solitary glow transforms. You see a tiny disk, and nearby, a line of faint pinpoints. Its moons. Perhaps 4 little sparkles on either side, shifting positions each hour. The sight takes your breath away. You are witnessing a miniature solar system in motion. In that moment, the vast distance between you and Jupiter feels smaller. Despite being hundreds of millions of miles away, Jupiter and its dancing moons become personal, a vivid scene unfolding silently in the night. Saturn glows with a gentle, pale gold light, a bit fainter than Jupiter, but still easily spotted on a clear night. To the eye, it looks like a subdued star with a steady shine, often found among the background stars of the zodiac. Saturn moves even more slowly than Jupiter, taking nearly 30 years to make one full circuit through the constellations. In ancient times, Saturn was the outermost known planet, the cosmic boundary of the wanderers, and the Romans fittingly named it after the god of time. Watching Saturn, one can sense that slow march of time. Night after night it hardly shifts, embodying patience and permanence in the sky. Saturn is attended by a fleet of moons. One of them, Titan, has its own thick atmosphere. Yet to our eyes all we see is Saturn's golden glow, adorned by its delicate rings in telescopes. Although Saturn appears as a simple point to the naked eye, a glimpse through a telescope reveals one of nature's most exquisite sights. The planet is enveloped by its magnificent rings, broad, bright loops of ice and rock that encircle Saturn like a cosmic halo. Through the eyepiece, Saturn transforms from a dot into a tiny, celestial jewel, a golden globe suspended within thin, glowing rings. Many stargazers remember the first time they saw Saturn's rings as a moment of pure wonder. Even Galileo, when he first observed Saturn in 1610, described it as having ears on either side, an early glimpse of the rings that he couldn't yet understand, even knowing what to expect. The reality of that delicate ringed world floating in the darkness is breathtaking, a silent reminder of the beauty hidden in the night sky. Imagine a crisp night when Saturn is well placed in the sky. The autumn air bites gently at your cheeks, but the transparency of the sky is excellent. You peer through a telescope eyepiece, heart quietly racing with anticipation. At first your eye catches a small golden dot. Then it comes into focus. Saturn appears, complete with a delicate ring encircling it. It almost doesn't look real. A tiny celestial jewel with an ethereal halo suspended around it. You realize you are seeing what Galileo glimpsed 4 centuries ago, except now you understand. Those are Saturn's rings. In that still moment, floating in the dark void, Saturn and its rings look impossibly elegant. You pull your eye back from the telescope and stare up, awestruck that such a marvel is really there, gracing the night with its silent presence. Beyond Saturn's ancient boundary, deeper in the outer darkness, two more planets journey around the Sun. Uranus and Neptune are the hidden travelers of our solar system, worlds so distant and faint that they eluded human sight for millennia. Without a telescope, they appear only as dim star-like dots, if at all, on the black canvas of night. It was only with careful observation and the advent of telescopes that these ghostly wanderers were discovered, revealing that the family of planets extends further into the unknown darkness than the ancients ever imagined. Uranus is so distant that it hovers at the threshold of visibility. On the clearest, darkest nights, it sits on the edge of what the human eye can detect, often mistaken for an ordinary faint star. For countless generations it went unnoticed, hiding in plain sight among the myriad stars. It was not until the year 1781 that a dedicated astronomer named William Herschel, with a telescope, realized this star was actually moving ever so slowly, revealing itself to be a new planet. This was a stunning discovery at the time. The solar system was larger than anyone had known, stretching beyond Saturn's orbit into the deep unknown. It was the first planet discovered in recorded history, expanding the known boundaries of the Sun's family and showing that there were worlds even beyond Saturn. Seen through a telescope, Uranus presents a tiny disk with a delicate blue-green tint, a ghostly world far away. The pale aquamarine hue of Uranus comes from the gases in its atmosphere, filtering the distant sunlight. Even with magnification, there is little detail, just a small, softly glowing orb against the black. Yet knowing that this faint point is actually an enormous ice giant planet, 4 times the diameter of Earth, can send a shiver of awe through the observer. Uranus moves with almost glacial slowness. It takes 84 years to complete one orbit around the Sun. In a single year it shifts only a few degrees against the starry background, a barely perceptible crawl that underscores just how far away it lies. A human could watch the sky their entire life and see Uranus make just one full journey through the constellations. Uranus is unique in that it spins on its side, rolling around the Sun like a tilted ball, though from Earth this oddity is invisible, hidden behind its tiny blue-green dot. Far from city lights on a moonless night, you sweep your eyes across the sky, looking for Uranus. The Milky Way arches overhead, indicating the sky is dark enough to try for this faint planet. Without a detailed chart, it's nearly impossible to pick out, just another pinprick among thousands. But suppose you know exactly where to look. You aim a telescope to a seemingly empty patch of sky. At first, only faint stars come into view. Then one star stands out with a tiny disk and a subtle hint of blue-green colour. A thrill runs through you as you realise this is Uranus. This remote world, barely within reach of human sight, reveals itself quietly. It moves so slowly that night to night it seems fixed, but knowing that it is a planet, you perceive it differently. You are peering at a giant ice-blue orb billions of kilometres away, orbiting the Sun in silent solitude. Neptune lies even farther out, in a realm of darkness where the Sun's warmth and light are but a whisper. This planet is invisible to the naked eye. Not a hint of it can be seen without aid, as it blends into the tapestry of faint stars. Neptune's discovery in 1846 was a triumph of careful observation and mathematics. Astronomers noticed that Uranus did not move exactly as expected, as if an unseen influence was pulling on it. By calculating where this mysterious tug might come from, they pointed their telescopes to an empty patch of sky. And there Neptune was, a tiny blue dot right where it had been predicted to be, at the very edge of the known solar system. In the eyepiece, Neptune is a minute disk with a rich azure blue colour, a point of cobalt light almost indistinguishable from a distant star. It is a cold, ice giant world, similar to Uranus, but even farther removed. At that distance, Neptune moves so slowly that it takes 165 years to complete a single orbit. So long that since its discovery, it has only recently completed one full circuit around the Sun, a striking reminder of the immense scale of its journey. To a stargazer, Neptune appears almost motionless, lingering in the same corner of the sky for years on end, a quiet beacon at the fringe of our planetary neighbourhood. It is fitting that Neptune carries the name of the god of the sea, for it drifts in the dark cosmic ocean with a tranquil, deep blue presence. Neptune's serene blue disk hides violent winds and dark storm spots, but through our telescopes, it remains a tranquil azure speck at the edge of sunlight. Finally, envision the challenge of finding Neptune, the farthest major planet. Perhaps the moon is absent and the stars are crisp and plentiful, a necessity to catch sight of Neptune's gentle glow. You follow coordinates from an astronomy guide, pointing a telescope to a dim region of Aquarius or Capricornus, where Neptune currently drifts. In the eyepiece, you see a scatter of faint stars. One of them, however, looks ever so slightly different, a tiny speck with a telltale blue hue. That is Neptune. Though it appears no larger than a star, you know it's a huge, distant globe, its azure clouds reflecting a faint sun. In one human lifetime, Neptune hardly moves from that spot. Yet here it is, in your sight. You linger on it, aware that this is the last planet, the edge of the solar system as we know it. Beyond that tiny blue dot lies a gulf of space stretching to infinity. The realization is humbling and serene. Once in a while, the wandering planets appear to gather together or form a straight line in our sky. These are the rare nights or early mornings when multiple worlds share a small patch of the heavens, creating a scene of cosmic togetherness. Usually each planet keeps its own space, separated by expanses of sky, but during an alignment, they seem to converge, almost as if convening for a celestial meeting. From our earthly viewpoint, this is a beautiful illusion. In reality, each planet is still millions of miles away from the others, yet for a short time they appear side by side, offering a breathtaking sight to those watching below. One of the most dazzling alignments is when two of the brightest planets come together. Imagine Venus and Jupiter meeting in the twilight sky, the brilliant evening star and the giant planet drawing so near that they almost merge into a single gleaming point. Such an encounter can stop people in their tracks, as these two beacons create a double star of exceptional radiance. Over a few nights, you could watch their positions change as they approach, appear closest at conjunction, and then drift apart again, each continuing on its own path. In those close moments, it's as if the two brightest wanderers pause to greet each other, sharing the same small stage in the vast theatre of the sky. Even the giant planets Jupiter and Saturn occasionally catch up to one another, about once every 20 years, resulting in a great conjunction where they appear side by side. In a recent such meeting, in 2020, those two distant worlds came so close in our sky that they almost seemed to fuse into one bright point, enthralling observers around the globe. Even more rare and splendid are times when many planets line up across the sky at once. In a single sweeping view, you might see Mercury low near the horizon, Venus shining higher up, Mars with its subtle red glow, and farther along Jupiter and Saturn, all arrayed in a grand arc. Such planetary parades usually occur just before dawn or after sunset, when the sun's light is out of the way enough to reveal them all. Seeing 5 worlds at one time, each a unique beacon, gives a profound sense of the solar system's layout. It's as if a cosmic map is briefly unveiled above us, the planets marking the path of the sun's family across the vault of the sky. These moments are anticipated by sky watchers and remembered for a lifetime. Consider being outside under a pre-dawn sky when a rare alignment is taking place. The world is quiet at this early hour, and the sky is a deep cobalt blue, just beginning to pale near the horizon. The air is cool and still as you scan from the eastern horizon upward. There, you spot Mercury, low and faint in the growing twilight. Above it glows brilliant Venus, and higher still, a golden Mars, and beyond, Jupiter and Saturn. One by one, like stepping stones, the planets trace a gentle arc across the sky. In that twilight moment, you can almost see the plane of our solar system etched out before you. The sight feels quietly celebratory, as if the planets have all shown up for a reunion. It lasts only briefly. The sky begins to brighten, and Mercury, and then the others fade away into daylight. But the memory of seeing all these worlds at once stays with you, a reminder of how our celestial neighbours share the sky with us. To witness a planetary alignment is to feel a subtle tightening of the cosmic tapestry. In those moments when worlds gather, one senses the harmony of celestial clockwork, a rare glimpse of the grand design that usually unfolds too slowly to notice. Our ancestors may have seen in these events the meeting of gods or the turning of great cycles, and even today, knowing the science, we cannot help but feel a touch of that ancient awe. The planets seem to acknowledge one another in the sky, reminding us that our Earth is not alone, but part of a family of worlds moving in concert through the night. The planets are wanderers in the truest sense. Unlike the fixed stars, which return to the same positions every night, the planets slowly change their place among the constellations as the weeks pass. This motion is subtle but steady. If you mark a planet's position against a certain star one evening, by a week or two later, you will notice it has shifted. It was this restless movement that earned these objects the name planets, meaning wanderers, from the sky watchers of ancient times. They could see that these were not ordinary stars, but travellers following their own paths through the heavens. Each planet moves at its own pace. Quick Mercury can dart from one side of the sun to the other in just a few weeks, reappearing alternately at dawn and dusk. Venus lingers longer, spending months as the morning star, then transitioning to dominate the evening sky for an equally long stretch. Mars, farther out, takes roughly 2 years to loop through the zodiac, surging in brightness when it comes close, then fading and wandering slowly onward. Jupiter and Saturn move more sedately still, Jupiter taking 12 years to traverse the stars, and Saturn nearly 30. If the solar system were a giant clock, Mercury would be a swift second hand, Venus perhaps a sweeping minute hand, and Saturn a slow hour hand barely moving at all. To the patient observer, they trace a slow procession, each planet like a hand on a vast cosmic clock, marking the passage of years. The dance of the planets is not always a straightforward march. At times, the outer planets perform their curious retrograde loops, seeming to backtrack for a while before moving on. This happens when Earth, on its swifter orbit nearer the Sun, sweeps past these distant worlds, making them appear to reverse direction temporarily from our perspective. Such illusions puzzled early astronomers, but now we know they are simply a consequence of viewing the solar system in motion from a moving platform ourselves. Understanding this adds to the appreciation. As you watch a planet slow down and begin to drift backward among the stars, you are witnessing a graceful interplay of orbital motions unfolding across millions of miles. Imagine making a simple sketch of the sky each week, marking where a bright planet appears relative to the background stars. Each session under the stars is calm and contemplative. The night air perhaps getting cooler as the seasons progress during your experiment. You might choose Jupiter, noting its position near a certain star or constellation pattern. As weeks go by, you see Jupiter move steadily eastward across the starry canvas. Then 1 month, around opposition, you notice Jupiter slows and begins to slide backward a bit, looping a gentle curve against the stars. Retrograde motion in real time. Over the year, Jupiter resumes its forward trek. Your sketches show a graceful S-shaped loop trail. Through this patient practice, you have captured the planet's dance. What was once just a bright point of light becomes a traveler with a story, sometimes racing ahead, sometimes pausing and retreating, but always moving on in its orbit. This realization connects you with skywatchers of old, who tracked these wanderers and gradually uncovered the rhythms of the solar system. Over longer spans, the visibility of a planet shifts through phases. A planet rising in the evening one season will, months later, be rising at midnight, and later still, before dawn. Eventually, it disappears in the sun's glare when it reaches conjunction with the sun, only to reappear on the other side, either in the morning or evening, depending on its orbit. Thus, the planets take turns, gracing our skies at different times of night and year. For example, Jupiter might dominate the late summer nights one year, but by the next year, it has migrated to the pre-dawn hours, yielding the evening stage to another planet. This continual changing of roles means there is always something new to find in the sky, as one planet sets and another rises to take its place. As our minds drift beyond Earth, picture the solar system from high above. The sun is a glowing beacon at the center, and all the planets are arranged in their wide orbits around it. Mercury scurries closest in a tight circle. Venus follows on its elegant path. Earth, our own world, circles next. And beyond Mars, the giant planets lumber in their vast loops. From this cosmic vantage, you can see the entire family of worlds moving together, each keeping to its track. They appear almost like a grand celestial mobile, gracefully turning in silence. Months and years flash by in this view, and you observe Mercury making many quick laps, while Saturn barely completes one. Yet all are synchronized by the sun's gentle pull. The harmony of it is striking, a clockwork of worlds gliding through the void. It reminds you that our night sky's shifting planet show is just a small slice of this greater cosmic dance playing out across space. There is a profound peace in following the slow ballet of the planets. By observing their nightly changes, we become attuned to the grand rhythm that governs our solar system. Each tiny shift in position is a reminder that cosmic time moves in cycles far greater than our own. In the gentle drift of these worlds, there is both constancy and change, a reassuring pattern that humanity has watched for ages. As one planet fades and another emerges, we are quietly drawn into their timeless dance, a dance that continues night after night. And beyond the paths of these wandering planets, the night sky offers even more wonders, waiting for us to explore as our journey through the cosmos goes on. High above, stretching from horizon to horizon, a pale luminous band of countless stars flows across the night sky. This hazy river of light is the Milky Way, our home galaxy, as seen from within. In the stillness of the dark, far from city lights, it appears as a gentle milky glow arching gracefully overhead. It is as if someone brushed a stroke of white paint across the canvas of the sky, a soft, mysterious glow that has beckoned travelers and dreamers for millennia. Lying under this celestial arch, you feel a sense of connection to something vast and eternal. Each tiny sparkle within the Milky Way's glow is a distant sun, one among hundreds of billions that form this majestic spiral of stars. From Earth, our eyes can't pick out each individual star in that band, yet together their light merges into a diffuse pathway in the darkness. Ancient cultures looked up at this shimmering band and spun countless stories about its origin and meaning, sensing its significance in the grand tapestry of the night. Imagine gazing up on a clear summer night, the air crisp and silent, and overhead the Milky Way spills across the sky. It is thickest and brightest toward one side, where the heart of our galaxy lies hidden behind clouds of interstellar dust. Dark rifts and patches mar its glow here and there, vast cosmic dust clouds blocking the starlight, creating the illusion of rivers and voids within the glowing band. The longer you look, the more your eyes adjust, revealing subtle details, brighter knots and faint extensions, as if the galaxy is slowly unfolding its secrets to your patient gaze. All the stars you see sprinkled in the sky around you are part of the Milky Way as well. But it's the concentrated mass of distant stars along the galactic plane that creates this milky arch. In the quiet of the night, you can almost feel the galaxy rotating, carrying us on a journey through space and time. We are tucked away in one of its spiral arms, a small solar system drifting amid this grand collection of stars. Yet from our vantage point, we only perceive a glimmer of its immensity, a pale band of light hinting at the billions of suns that lie beyond our sight. Centuries ago, when the first astronomers turned their telescopes to this milky band, they discovered an astonishing truth. What looked like mist to the naked eye was resolved into countless individual stars. Galileo Galilei was among the first to report that the Milky Way's glow came from myriad faint stars packed together. That revelation transformed our understanding of the sky, showing that even the softest glimmer can hide a multitude of worlds and suns, a realization that still inspires awe today. It's amazing to think that we live embedded within this giant collection of stars. From our perspective on Earth, we see only a cross-section of the Milky Way's disk. The galaxy is like a vast, spinning city of stars, and our sun is one tiny resident located in a quieter suburb of that city. As the galaxy turns, our solar system journeys around the galactic center, completing one enormous orbit roughly every 200 million years. A single galactic year that dwarfs all of human history. Even though we cannot feel it, our whole solar system is moving through space along with the stars around us. On a night like this, under the shimmering band of the Milky Way, you might take a moment to imagine that motion. Picture us riding on Earth, which orbits the sun, and the sun itself cruising around the center of the galaxy. The sheer scale and harmony of these movements happen in grand silence, a cosmic ballet that continues whether we are aware of it or not. There's a profound humility and comfort in seeing the Milky Way overhead. It reminds us that our world, with all its concerns, is just a tiny part of a much larger cosmic structure. At the same time, that band of light is home. the combined glow of our stellar neighbours and distant kin, bound together by gravity in a graceful spiral dance. As you breathe slowly under the night sky, you might even sense the faintest whisper of that cosmic relationship, as though the stars themselves were reassuring you that you belong to this vast, beautiful galaxy. For ancient peoples with no knowledge of galaxies or astronomy, this milky arc was a source of wonder and mystery. They gave it names of poetry and legend. Some saw it as a celestial river, a pathway of souls travelling across the heavens. Others imagined it was spilled milk from a goddess, strewn across the sky as a divine accident, giving the band its milky appearance. Under different skies it has been called the backbone of night, or the bridge of birds, each culture finding meaning in this soft, glowing presence that spans the nocturnal heavens. Each night that the Milky Way is visible, it shifts a little, rotating around the pole with the turning of the Earth. In summer and autumn nights, its central regions crowd the sky, filled with dense star clouds toward the constellation Sagittarius, where the galactic core hides behind veils of dust. Here the glow is richer and more complex, with hints of orange and yellow stars, and it broadens into a thick swath. In winter and spring, we look toward the outer galaxy, and the band appears fainter and narrower, a gentle reminder that we are peering toward the quieter outskirts of our galactic home. Each night, as the Earth turns, the Milky Way slowly pivots across the sky, maintaining its quiet presence. Over the course of the year, different sections of the galaxy dominate the night. During certain seasons, our night side faces toward the crowded galactic center. In those times, the band of the Milky Way appears broader and brighter, especially toward the constellations of Sagittarius and Scorpius, where the core of the galaxy lies hidden behind thick dust. Here the glow is rich and complex. Ancient stargazers noted bright star clouds and dark splits cutting through them. One prominent feature is the Great Rift, a series of dark lanes where cosmic dust obscures the starry light, giving the impression of a river of darkness dividing the luminous stream. At other times of year, when our planet's night side looks out toward the edge of the galaxy, the Milky Way's band becomes fainter and more delicate. The swath of light narrows, and fewer stars crowd together in our view. We are peering into the sparser outer reaches of our galactic home, and the difference is palpable. The sky seems a little darker. The Milky Way, a gentle reminder, rather than a bold splash. Whether bold or faint, the galaxy's presence always lends a sense of direction in the sky, as though marking the central plane of the cosmos we live within. On the clearest nights, the collective light of the Milky Way is surprisingly significant. In places far from any artificial lights, the galaxy's glow can subtly illuminate the landscape. It is said that under a truly dark sky, the Milky Way can cast a faint shadow or reflection, an ethereal light that is just barely perceptible. Imagine standing on a remote hilltop or in a quiet valley, seeing your shadow ever so faintly outlined by starlight alone, a testament to the combined radiance of billions of distant suns. The Milky Way's gentle glow is peppered with tiny jewels if you look closely. Now and then, a particularly bright star or cluster stands out along the band. There are moments when a shooting star streaks by, slicing through the galaxy's glow as if drawing attention to the spectacle. But nothing disturbs the quiet majesty of that arch of light. It hangs there calmly, silently telling the story of countless suns and their planets. Spend a while immersed in this sight. The more you gaze, the deeper your mind wanders among those stars. You might start to ponder what it would be like to travel there, to drift among the star fields of the Milky Way. Or perhaps your thoughts simply quiet down, soothed by the knowledge that above you arcs an ancient structure that has seen unimaginable spans of time. Our ancestors saw this same band of light and felt many of the same emotions: wonder, curiosity, comfort beneath the starry sky. In the stillness, the Milky Way connects you to both past and future. Each star that contributes its light might have already lived and died, or might still shine for billions of years to come. Our sun is one modest star in this assembly, accompanied by all the invisible brethren that outnumber the grains of sand on all Earth's shores. Yet here, their collective glow becomes something we can see and marvel at, a natural nightlight gently illuminating the darkness. As your eyes trace the path of the Milky Way upward, you notice how it seems to swell near the middle and then taper toward the horizons. That swelling is where the galactic center resides, a place of mysteries, like the supermassive black hole anchoring our galaxy. You cannot see it directly, but somewhere in that thickest glow lies the heart of the Milky Way, crowded with stars orbiting something massive and unseen. Even these heavy thoughts drift lightly through your mind, causing no worry, only adding to the sense of awe and intrigue. The night deepens, and yet the Milky Way remains, a faithful companion in the sky. Perhaps a faint breeze rustles through the grass, or a quiet night bird calls in the distance. Small reminders of Earth, while your mind roams the stars. You feel both tiny and connected, cradled under the cosmic sky. The luminous band above is a gentle reminder of the grand universe enveloping our little world, giving context to all that we are and all that we come from. After spending this time with our galaxy's glow, you may feel a sense of peace and perspective. The worries of the day seem distant and trivial in the face of such vastness. There is a subtle energy in knowing that your atoms were born in stars, like those that form the Milky Way, that you are literally made of stardust. Relaxed and curious, you allow the gentle tide of stars to wash over your thoughts, carrying you deeper into the journey of cosmic exploration. Amid the softly shining Milky Way, your eyes catch something else, a hint of structure, perhaps a small cluster of stars gathered closely together like a handful of diamonds on black velvet. In places along the band of the galaxy, and even outside it, there are groupings where stars bunch together in cosmic families. As you notice one of these clusters twinkling collectively, you feel drawn to explore these tighter gatherings of stellar light, curious about what stories they tell in the vast night. These star clusters beckon with their concentrated brilliance, inviting us to delve into their secrets hidden in plain sight. Your gaze now settles on a tight gathering of stars sparkling together in the darkness. Against the vast backdrop of the Milky Way, this cluster stands out as a tiny concentration of light, a family of suns bound together. To the naked eye, it might appear as a faintly blurred point or a tiny sprinkle of stars, distinct from the solitary stars around it. In this small group, the stars share a common bond, moving through space as companions and illuminating each other across light years with their collective glow. Star clusters are like cosmic neighborhoods, groups of stars that form together or are held together by their mutual gravity. Unlike lone stars scattered elsewhere, these stars are siblings, born from the same cloud of gas and dust, or they are ancient partners that have been bound for ages. When you look at a star cluster, you are seeing a stellar family, a multitude of suns, all roughly the same distance away, shining as one. There's something comforting in the idea that even stars prefer to gather, clustering in the vast night for companionship. One of the most beloved star clusters is visible on crisp winter nights. A little group called the Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters. To your unaided eyes, it looks like a tiny dipper of 6 or 7 points of light nestled close together. There's a delicate, misty quality to it, as though these stars are veiled by a gauze. Cultures around the world have told stories about this cluster. 7 sisters pursued by a hunter, or 7 siblings transformed into stars. The sight of the Pleiades twinkling in concert has inspired wonder for thousands of years. For some ancient societies, the yearly arrival of the 7 sisters in the pre-dawn sky marked a change of season, serving as a celestial calendar guiding their planting and harvest. If you raise a pair of binoculars toward the Pleiades, the view blossoms into dozens of stars where only a few were seen before. What seemed like a small cluster unveils itself as a glittering assembly of bright blue-white suns. With magnification, the misty quality turns into a fine sparkle. Countless points of starlight scattered in a tight group. You might even notice a subtle, hazy glow enveloping some of the brightest stars. A delicate blue nebula reflecting their light, hinting at the cloud of gas and dust from which these sisters were born. Open clusters, like the Pleiades, are often youthful gatherings. Their stars are relatively young and hot, blazing blue and white as they travel together through the galaxy's disk. Over time, these sibling stars will gradually drift apart, each pursuing its own path in the Milky Way. But for a few 100 million years, they remain a close-knit family, a shimmering cluster that slowly disperses as the gravitational bonds loosen. Knowing this makes the sight of an open cluster even more poignant. It is a transient community of stars, a brilliant gathering that will one day be gone. It's very possible that our own sun was born in such a cluster billions of years ago, alongside sibling stars that have long since drifted away across the galaxy. Now and then, the cosmos offers clusters in pairs. High in the northern sky, between the constellations of Perseus and Cassiopeia, lies a hidden treasure known as the double cluster. To a casual glance, it's just a faint blur in the Milky Way. But through binoculars, or a small telescope, it resolves into 2 distinct star clusters side by side. These cosmic twins sparkle with a multitude of stars, like 2 open jewel boxes spilled next to one another, a rare and beautiful duet in the stellar symphony of the night. Not all clusters are so loose and youthful. Turn your attention to another kind of stellar gathering, the globular cluster. These are colossal, densely packed spheres of stars, usually much older and more enduring. Whereas an open cluster might contain a few hundred stars, a globular cluster can hold hundreds of thousands, even millions of stars, clumped in a ball of light. Through a telescope, a globular cluster appears as a hazy orb that becomes a spray of tiny points toward its edges, with a bright, concentrated core where the starlight merges into a golden glow. Imagine looking up at a globular cluster through the eyepiece. At first you see a round, fuzzy patch against the dark, but with focus and patience, it resolves into countless distant suns. The center is so crowded with stars that they blur together like a dense cloud of light. Further out from the core, individual stars begin to sparkle forth, billions of miles apart, yet seemingly almost touching in the sky. It's as if someone spilled a handful of diamond dust on black velvet, the pieces closest together glinting as one, and those farther out twinkling separately around the edges. One famous globular cluster lies in the constellation Hercules, known simply as the Great Cluster in Hercules. To the naked eye on a clear night, it's barely a dim smudge, a tiny mote of light that might go unnoticed if you didn't know it was there. But point a telescope at that spot, and the smudge blossoms into a glorious city of stars. Suddenly, you see a round swarm of stars packed at the centre, with myriad sparks surrounding it. What was once a faint blur becomes an awe-inspiring sight. 500,000 ancient suns gathered in one glittering globe. Consider that their light has travelled tens of thousands of years through space to reach your eyes. Such is the brilliance of this clustered multitude that it can be glimpsed across that great distance. Globular clusters are relics of the early galaxy. The stars within them are often among the oldest known, many times older than the stars of open clusters like the Pleiades. These ancient suns have been shining for billions of years, since a time when the universe itself was young. Bound tightly by gravity, the globular cluster has survived eons orbiting the Milky Way, persisting even as younger star groups come and go. In observing a globular cluster, you are witnessing a living fossil of our galaxy's youth, a dense congregation of stars that has endured nearly as long as the galaxy itself. Our Milky Way is encircled by dozens of globular clusters, each one a ball of stars swarming around the galactic centre. They hover in the galactic halo, high above and below the disk, like lanterns marking the outskirts of our galaxy. Each globular cluster moves along its own path, slowly orbiting the Milky Way over hundreds of millions of years. Once upon a time, some might have been separate dwarf galaxies, or the cores of galaxies that merged with ours, now absorbed and coalesced into these starry spheres. Their presence adds depth and texture to the galactic landscape, a reminder of our galaxy's rich and eventful history. Even our Milky Way and Andromeda are drifting inexorably together and will merge billions of years from now, a reminder that even galaxies experience cosmic evolution and renewal. Staring at a star cluster, whether open or globular, one can't help but feel a sense of kinship in the cosmos. Just as people gather in communities, these stars form communities of their own. In the loneliness of space, they found each other, bound by gravity in shared journeys around the galaxy. The cluster's collective light is gentle yet profound, a testament to companionship, of stars shining together through the cosmic night. For a moment, picture being on a planet inside such a cluster. The night sky above that world would be unlike anything we see from Earth, filled with hundreds of brilliant stars, so many that even the darkness between them would seem to glow. A nearby star might cast a soft radiance all night long, and dozens of others would outshine our brightest nighttime stars. It would be a sky filled with camaraderie, every direction offering stellar light. Such a thought reminds us how special our own sky is, yet how different it could be under other cosmic circumstances. Nights might never be fully dark on such a world. The glow of so many nearby suns could bathe the landscape in perpetual starlight. Faint overlapping shadows would be cast in every direction, so that true darkness would be unknown. It would be an unending twilight, a living testament to the abundance of stars surrounding that fortunate world. As you continue to gaze at these clusters from our earthly vantage, you marvel at how each tiny glow represents an immense system of worlds and suns. The faint patch you see holds the combined brilliance of so many stars, each possibly with its own planets, perhaps even life. In clusters, the stars are close enough to influence each other's orbits and evolution, and sometimes they even merge or trade companions in a slow celestial dance. Yet to us, they appear serene and unchanging, a gentle blur of light hanging in the quiet sky. From our perspective on Earth, their combined radiance arrives as a single, steady glow, as though all those stars are speaking in unison softly across the cosmic gulf. Some star clusters are adorned with a touch of nebulosity, a subtle glow that betrays the presence of cosmic gas and dust. In certain young clusters, like those still nestled in their birth clouds, you might catch a faint haze around the stars. This haze is the last remnant of the nebula that gave birth to the cluster, a glowing cloud lit by the newborn stars. Seeing a cluster wrapped in such a gauzy veil is like seeing a family of stars still cradled in the embrace of their birthplace, a beautiful and tender sight. Before long, your attention is drawn to those very clouds themselves, the nebulas shining dimly among the stars. Having explored the clusters of stars, you now feel the pull of the places where those stars began. The faint glimmer of a nebula in the distance calls out, promising a view of creation in progress. Gently, our journey transitions from the star clusters to the vast clouds of gas and dust, where new stars are born and the cycle of starlight begins anew. Your eyes adjust to a faint, gauzy glow, now emerging against the darkness. A nebula, a cloud of starlit gas and dust. It floats like a ghostly apparition among the pinpoint stars, larger than any star, yet far more delicate in appearance. Moments ago, you were focused on tight clusters of stars. Now you find yourself drawn into the soft radiance of this diffuse cloud. In its gentle light, there is a sense of something unfolding, as if this pale glow holds within it the beginnings of new stars and new stories. This nebulous glow is, in fact, a stellar nursery, a place where stars are born. Within these vast clouds of hydrogen gas and interstellar dust, gravity is quietly at work, gathering material into denser clumps. As those clumps grow more concentrated, they heat up and ignite into new stars, illuminating the surrounding cloud from within. What you see as a faint haze is actually the cradle of future suns, a cosmic nursery swaddled in glowing gas and shadowy dust. One of the most famous of these star-forming nebulae lies in the Sword of Orion, the Hunter constellation. To the unaided eye on a clear night, it appears as a small patch of fog hanging from Orion's belt, subtle, almost easy to overlook. But when viewed through a telescope, or even steady binoculars, this patch blooms into the Orion Nebula, a magnificent cloud of light, roughly 1/300 light-years away. Its core reveals a cluster of young stars, newborn suns, whose brilliant light causes the surrounding gas to glow in soft hues of pink and green in photographs, though to our eyes it remains a diaphanous blue-grey mist. At the heart of the Orion Nebula, 4 hot, bright stars sit closely together, known as the trapezium. These infant stars are only a few million years old, mere babes in cosmic terms, and their fierce ultraviolet light energizes the nebula around them. Under their illumination, the gas cloud shines, and you can imagine the tendrils and folds of the nebula swirling gently under the influence of stellar winds. This celestial cloudscape is constantly changing on timescales far longer than a human life. Yet in our mind's eye, we see it as a beautiful, static picture painted across the sky. Picture yourself peering through a telescope at this stellar nursery. At first, the eyepiece shows just darkness and a few stars. Then, as your eye grows accustomed, a faint haze comes into view. It is the Orion Nebula you're seeing, a gentle patch of light that looks like a tiny wisp of cloud suspended among the stars. You notice that its center is a bit brighter, where the cluster of infant stars resides, while around it, the light fans out like delicate wings. It's astonishing to behold directly, knowing that across those light years, new solar systems are being born in that subtle glow. All around our galaxy, similar nebulae mark the locations of ongoing creation. In the summer sky, toward the dense heart of the Milky Way, you can find the Lagoon Nebula and the Trifid Nebula, each a blossoming patch of light where clusters of stars are forming. Farther south, the Carina Nebula spreads a bright, intricate glow, home to some of the most massive young stars known. Each of these glowing clouds signals a place where the galaxy is alive and growing, forging new suns that will one day light up their own corner of the cosmos. Nebulae take on many shapes, stirring the imagination of those who observe them. Some appear as luminous swirls or flower-like blooms in the telescope's eyepiece. Others have earned fanciful names. The Eagle Nebula, with its towering pillars of dark dust that resemble a mythical eagle spreading its wings, or the Rosette Nebula, a wreath of stars and gas shaped like a cosmic rose. Through the lens of a telescope, these forms are subtle and monochrome, but long exposure images reveal rich colours and complex structures, nature's artistry hidden in the night. Yet some nebulae remain in shadow rather than light. These dark nebulae betray their presence not by emitting or reflecting light, but by blocking it. One example is the Horsehead Nebula in Orion, a small dust cloud shaped like a horse's head, visible only because it stands silhouetted against a luminous cloud behind it. Such nebulae appear as cosmic shadows, mysterious figures outlined by the glow of the stars and gas beyond. In places like the Eagle Nebula, we witness structures known as the Pillars of Creation, colossal columns of gas and dust light years tall. Within and behind those dense pillars, newborn stars are forming, gradually eroding their dark nurseries with intense starlight. It's a scene of both creation and erosion. The very act of star birth begins to disperse the cloud that formed it, sculpting fantastical shapes in the process. Imagining these towering cosmic mountains, silhouetted against a background glow, inspires awe, a sense of the grand scale and patience of nature. Despite their immense size, nebulae appear fragile and delicate from our vantage point. The light they emit or reflect is often faint, reaching us only after a long journey. As you gaze at a nebula through the darkness, you might catch only a whisper of its true form, a soft luminescence mottled with shadows. Yet the knowledge of what lies within that faint glow adds depth to the experience. Stars in infancy, clusters yet to emerge, perhaps even planets coalescing around those nascent stars. In the apparent stillness of a nebula, entire solar systems are just beginning to take shape. In those densest pockets, new solar systems take shape. Stars encircled by disks of dust that will coalesce into planets, some perhaps destined to harbour oceans and life one day. Not all nebulae are places of star birth. Some are the gentle remains of a star's death. When sun-like stars reach the end of their life, they sometimes expel their outer layers, creating glowing shells of gas known as planetary nebula. These ethereal bubbles, like the Ring Nebula in Lyra or the Helix Nebula in Aquarius, hang in space like cosmic smoke rings, beautiful and haunting reminders of a star's final breaths. Their colours can be vivid in photographs: turquoise, crimson, violet, a cosmic iris shining softly as the core of the old star becomes a faint white dwarf at the centre. One day, in the far future, our own sun may create such a nebula, casting off its veil of gas to light up the sky in a final gentle display before fading to a small ember. There are also the turbulent remnants of supernovae, the titanic explosions marking the violent death of massive stars. The famous Crab Nebula, for instance, is the dispersing cloud from a star that exploded nearly 1,000 years ago, an event recorded by skywatchers in 1054 AD, who saw a new star blaze briefly in the daytime sky. Now, the expanding filaments of the Crab Nebula glow with an eerie beauty in the darkness, tendrils of gas spread out like a tangle of fine threads. In those threads lie enriched materials, the heavier elements that will one day blend into new cosmic clouds, seeding the next generation of stars and planets. Contemplating a nebula, one can sense the cyclical nature of the cosmos. In one cloud, stars are being born. In another, a star's life has come to an end, returning its substance to space. Yet both kinds of nebulae contribute to the great cosmic tapestry, the deaths of old stars providing the raw material for new ones. It is an ever-renewing story, written in light and gas. As you watch that faint glow in the sky, you are witnessing one chapter of that story, a chapter that may span millions of years, yet connects to the past and future of everything around us. Under a truly dark sky, some nebulae can even hint at their colours to the human eye, a pale greenish or pinkish tinge amid the grey. But it is with the aid of telescopes and cameras that their full splendour emerges. Through time-lapse exposures, these nebulous forms blossom into vibrant reds of glowing hydrogen, blues of oxygen, and purples where hot young stars mix their light. Even without seeing those hues directly, knowing they are there enriches your perception. As you gaze, you might imagine the faint blush of colour, letting your mind's eye paint what your eyes themselves cannot distinctly see. Lying back and gazing up, you might find it humbling that something as seemingly insubstantial as a wisp of light in the sky is in reality an immense region of creation and transformation. The nebula's soft glow does not dominate the night like a bright star or planet. Instead, it whispers its presence. It invites patience and imagination to appreciate. You relax your eyes, attune to the faint light, and gradually an image forms of a luminous cloud floating among the stars. In that quiet act of observation, you forge a connection with distant beginnings and endings, feeling the gentle pulse of the universe's ongoing life. As you continue to breathe slowly under the starry expanse, the sight of the nebula brings a calming realization. Just as the night sky above you is serene and vast, so too are the processes of creation and dissolution in the universe, gradual and peaceful on the human timescale. The stars born today in those clouds will shine long after we are gone, and the light we see now began its journey ages before we were here. You feel a sense of continuity, that you are part of this great cosmic cycle, made of the same atoms that once glowed in nebulae billions of years ago. After spending time absorbed in the nebula's faint radiance, you let your gaze wander further outward. Beyond the gauzy light of nebulae and the bright stars of our own galaxy, there lie other entire galaxies, far distant and faint. Those subtle smudges of light, barely noticeable at first, begin to call for your attention. Gently, your journey shifts focus again, from the birthplaces of stars in our Milky Way to the vast swirls of stars that exist millions of light years away. The next leg of our voyage carries us to these island universes, the distant galaxies strewn across the darkness. You now turn your gaze toward the farthest reaches of the night sky, where a faint, elusive smudge of light teases the edge of vision. Just off the Great Square of Pegasus, in the direction of the constellation Andromeda, lies a ghostly oval patch, barely perceptible to the naked eye on a dark, clear night. At first, you might wonder if it's a smudge on your vision or a wisp of high cloud, but it remains fixed among the stars. This subtle glow is the Andromeda Galaxy, the nearest major galaxy beyond our own Milky Way, and the most distant object you can see without a telescope. To your unaided eyes, it may appear as a tiny, dim cloud, but knowing what it represents fills you with wonder. An entire galaxy of 1 trillion stars, lying millions of light years away. If you could magnify your view, the Andromeda Galaxy would span a vast expanse of the sky. In long exposure photographs, it stretches several times the width of the full moon, with a bright central core and spiral arms that fade into the darkness. Through binoculars or a small telescope, you can begin to discern its oval shape, a concentrated glow in the middle that tapers outward. It's humbling to realize that the gentle glow of Andromeda's core is the combined light of billions upon billions of distant suns, blurred together by the immense distance. With careful watching, you might even spot 2 faint companion glows near Andromeda's outskirts, its own satellite galaxies orbiting the giant spiral like small attendants to a great galactic city. In observing Andromeda, you are essentially seeing a mirror image of our own Milky Way, as it might appear from afar. It appears as a colossal pinwheel of stars, suspended millions of light years away. The knowledge that our galaxy would likewise appear as a faint blur to someone in Andromeda is a humbling reminder of the distances that separate the worlds of the universe. To stargazers in the southern hemisphere, 2 other galaxies even closer to us can be spotted on a dark night. These are the large and small Magellanic Clouds, irregular dwarf galaxies that orbit our Milky Way. They appear as pale, diffuse patches hanging in the southern sky, as if torn pieces of the Milky Way itself. For centuries, travellers used them as celestial landmarks, and they remain a captivating sight, quietly reminding us that our galaxy has companions of its own. Beyond these, the universe is brimming with galaxies wherever we look. Aim a modest telescope toward the constellations, Virgo or Coma Berenices, on a spring night, and you will find the sky sprinkled with faint smudges of light, each one a galaxy in the distant background. As you slowly pan across that region, galaxy after galaxy swims into view, some with a brighter core, others barely perceptible at the edge of vision. What seemed like an empty patch of sky becomes a panorama of delicate whispers of light, each the signature of a far-off island of stars. Some galaxies are elegant spirals, swirling pinwheels of starlight with graceful arms curling around bright cores. Our Milky Way and Andromeda belong to this class, exhibiting the classic spiral shape. Others are elliptical galaxies, vast and diffuse star systems that look like giant glowing clouds, their stars arranged in a broad ball or ellipse with no distinct arms. Still others are irregular or peculiar in shape, often the jumbled result of galaxies colliding or merging over eons. The variety of forms is staggering, a cosmic zoo of island universes scattered through the darkness. It was only about a century ago that we truly understood these smudges for what they are. Before then, astronomers called them spiral nebulae and debated whether they were merely nearby swirls of stars or distant galaxies in their own right. In the 1920s, Edwin Hubble observed variable stars in the Andromeda nebula and calculated its enormous distance, proving that Andromeda lay far outside the Milky Way. This discovery expanded our conception of the universe overnight, revealing that our galaxy is just one of countless others adrift in a vast sea of space. The realization was a turning point in astronomy, shattering the old belief that the Milky Way comprised the entire universe and opening our eyes to a cosmos filled with galaxies. When you gaze at the Andromeda Galaxy, you are seeing it as it was about 2.5 million years ago. That is how long its light has traveled across space to reach your eyes. In other words, you are looking back in time. Andromeda's faint glow carries the ancient history of its stars, arriving here after crossing an almost unfathomable gulf. This realization gives you pause. While you stand here under the stars, the light from that distant galaxy has been en route since early humans first walked the Earth. The thought of so many galaxies, each containing billions of stars and potentially trillions of planets, stirs the imagination. The Milky Way and Andromeda alone each teem with worlds, and there are billions of galaxies beyond them. Somewhere in those myriad galaxies, there could be other beings gazing back at a tiny patch of light that is our Milky Way, wondering as we do. The universe suddenly feels both vast and intimate, vast in its sheer scale, yet intimate in the sense that these other galaxies are made of the same stars and elements that we know, following the same natural laws, twinkling through the ages, just like our own. Galaxies often travel in groups and clusters, bound together by gravity across unimaginable distances. Our local group is a small gathering of a few dozen galaxies, including the Milky Way, Andromeda, and their companions. Far beyond, the Virgo cluster holds over 1,000 galaxies swarming together millions of light years away, and still larger superclusters form a frothy web at the cosmic scale. When you contemplate that structure, you sense that galaxies are the building blocks of the universe on the grandest scale, arranged in a vast network that spans across the cosmos. Even our Milky Way and Andromeda are drifting inexorably together and will merge billions of years from now. A reminder that even galaxies experience cosmic evolution and renewal. Through a modest telescope, galaxies reveal their individual beauty. For example, the Whirlpool Galaxy begins to show its graceful spiral arms, faintly winding around a luminous core. Along those arms, you might spot hints of mottled patterns, where clusters of young blue stars and rosy nebulae reside, marking the spiral structure. It looks like a delicate pinwheel suspended in space, a vast storm of stars frozen in silent rotation and offered to your eye across millions of light years. Another remarkable sight is the Sombrero Galaxy, named for its resemblance to a broad-brimmed hat. In photographs, it boasts a bright central bulge and a sharply defined lane of dust encircling it edge-on. Even in a telescope, it presents a striking image, a brilliant core bisected by a thin, dark band. It's as though you're looking at a slender ring of mist with a jewel in the middle, an entire galaxy seen from the side, quietly sailing through space. Perhaps the most awe-inspiring insight is that even the darkest parts of our night sky are not truly empty. In 1995, when astronomers aimed the Hubble Space Telescope at a tiny, apparently blank patch of sky and collected the feeble light for days, the resulting image revealed thousands of distant galaxies scattered across that minuscule field. Every speck of darkness, when examined deeply enough, blooms with galaxies upon galaxies, some so far away that their light began its journey not long after the universe itself was born. The emptiness was an illusion. The universe is filled with light and galaxies beyond what our eyes can directly see. Lying beneath the night sky, letting these ideas wash over you, a profound connection begins to form. You can feel the scale of the cosmos in a new way. The Milky Way arching overhead, Andromeda faintly shining beyond. and behind it, uncountable others, stretching out into infinity. It could be overwhelming, but instead, it comes as a gentle reassurance. We are part of something so immense and magnificent, yet the night sky presents it to us in soft whispers. A dim galaxy here, a subtle cluster there, inviting us to discover gradually, to absorb the grandeur piece by piece. As your eyes adjust and roam, you may catch sight of a barely visible smudge in your peripheral vision, and you remember that it might be a distant galaxy. Your mind's eye fills in what your physical eyes cannot. It sees the spiral arms, the billions of stars, perhaps a glowing core harboring a supermassive black hole. In that act of imagination, you transcend your earthly vantage point. The night grows deeper and more tranquil, and you feel as though you are drifting in the intergalactic void, with galaxies shining around you like islands of light in a vast, dark ocean. In this vision, all is silent and serene. The galaxies around you hang in the cosmic darkness like lanterns, distant and unhurried, illuminating the void with their collective glow. Surrounded by these gentle island universes, you feel a profound calm, as if the endless space is cradling you in its quiet embrace. You could drift for eternity in that boundless ocean of galaxies and never truly be alone. The light of a billion distant suns would always be there to keep you company, guiding you softly through the darkness. With this deepened perspective, you prepare to venture even further, beyond the familiar galaxies of today, into the realm of the extremely distant and ancient. Ahead lies the exploration of time itself, looking back to the universe as it was eons ago. The faintest galaxies and the afterglow of the Big Bang await, marking the final stretch of our cosmic journey. Gently, your attention shifts from the present cosmos to the deep past, where the first galaxies flicker on the edge of darkness and the origin of all things quietly beckons. Leaving behind the familiar galaxies of the present, you now set your imagination on a voyage to the very edges of the observable universe. As you peer deeper into space, you are also looking further back in time. The light from galaxies billions of light years away has been traveling toward us for billions of years, showing us those galaxies as they were in the distant past, in the immense darkness beyond the nearby cosmos. Faint, ghostly glimmers from the young universe begin to emerge, like echoes from an earlier epoch of creation. With the aid of the most powerful telescopes, we can glimpse galaxies so far away that their light set out when the universe was in its infancy. These remote galaxies appear as tiny red smudges in telescope images, their light stretched to longer, redder wavelengths by the expansion of the universe. Some of them are seen as they were over 13 billion years ago, not long after the first stars and galaxies had formed. In those faint images, we are witnessing cosmic history, looking at the universe when it was only a few % of its current age, a time when galaxies were just beginning to take shape. Try to imagine the universe at that young stage. Galaxies were smaller, often irregular and clumpy, busily forming stars at a rapid pace. The cosmos was a darker place then. The vast stretches between galaxies had not yet been fully illuminated by starlight. It was as if the universe was experiencing its cosmic dawn. Gradually, the light from newborn galaxies and quasars, brilliant young galaxies with actively feeding black holes at their cores, began to push back the primordial darkness. The first gleams of starlight spread through space, ending the cosmic night that had followed the universe's birth. As you gaze mentally toward these ancient lights, you realize that the darkness of the night sky is deceptive. Every pinpoint of light you see, every faint glow of a distant galaxy, is a message from the past. The farther away its source, the older that message is. With Andromeda, we saw light that left its source 2.5 million years ago. With far-flung galaxies, the messages are billions of years old. If someone in a galaxy 65 million light-years away could somehow observe Earth through a powerful telescope right now, they would see our planet not as it is today, but as it was 65 million years in the past, perhaps catching the last days of the dinosaurs. Our world would appear entirely different to them, with no trace of humans yet in existence. Just as we look out and peer into their deep past, they would be peering into ours. Such is the scale of time and distance that the universe presents to us. The ultimate limit of our vision lies not with a galaxy or a star, but with a diffuse glow permeating the cosmos from all directions. This is the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang fireball itself. It is not visible to the eye, as its light has cooled and stretched into microwave wavelengths over nearly 14 billion years. But with special instruments, we can detect this all-encompassing glow. It appears as a very cold, dim background light, almost uniform everywhere. The remnant heat from when the universe was unimaginably hot and dense. It's as though the universe's earliest light still softly echoes around us, a pale memory of a time before stars existed. When we observe the cosmic microwave background, we are seeing the universe as it was, just about 380,000 years after the Big Bang, practically its infancy. At that moment, the hot plasma filling the universe had cooled enough to become transparent, releasing a flash of light across space. That flash has been traveling ever since, weakening and reddening into microwaves, but still present. It tells us that the young universe was once aglow with warm light everywhere, a far cry from the cool darkness of our skies now. Though our eyes cannot see that ancient light directly, it's awe-inspiring to know it's there, enveloping us from every direction as a testament to the universe's fiery birth. Imagine if you could witness the universe at that infant stage. Space would not be dark at all. It would be filled with a brilliant, diffuse radiance, like the inside of a warm, bright fog. There would be no stars yet, no galaxies, just a hot haze of light everywhere you looked. Over time, as the universe expanded and cooled further, that blinding glow would gradually soften into the darkness we know, faintly echoing still as the microwave background we detect today. Beyond that primordial glow, there are no further light signals to catch. It marks the limit of how far back in time we can see using light. We cannot peer directly into the moment of the Big Bang itself with visible light or even microwaves, because earlier than that flash, the universe was opaque and searingly hot. It is as if we are standing at the shore of a great cosmic ocean of time, able to look out to the horizon of the observable universe, but no further. In effect, time and space themselves began in that initial moment, so there may be no before the beginning, at least not in any way we can easily imagine. Yet our understanding, through physics and mathematics, tells us that beyond that horizon lies the very beginning, an initial blaze of creation from which space and time expanded. The term Big Bang is somewhat misleading, as it conjures an image of an explosion in space. In reality, it was an expansion of space itself, a rapid inflation of the fabric of the cosmos from an initial state of extremely high density and temperature. In that primordial instant, all the matter and energy that would become galaxies, stars, planets, and even us was compressed into a volume smaller than an atom. Then, in a fraction of a second, the universe began to unfurl. Space expanded, carrying matter outward and cooling as it grew. There was no single point in space where this happened. It happened everywhere, because space itself was expanding from that initial fiery condition. As the universe expanded and cooled, the first basic elements formed from the hot soup of particles. In time, gravity drew clumps of matter together to form the earliest stars and galaxies. The cosmos went from a nearly uniform glow to a structure full of stars, galaxies, and clusters, the grand cosmic web we observe today. All of this unfolded over billions upon billions of years. And remarkably, the evidence of those changes is encoded in the light we see. Every time we look up at the night sky, we are sampling different eras of the universe's story. Nearby stars speaking of recent times, distant galaxies whispering about the universe's youth, and the cosmic background murmuring about its infancy. Thinking about these vast spans of time can be dizzying. The human mind can hardly grasp 1 billion years, let alone 14 billion. Yet, standing under the stars, you may feel a soothing acceptance of these scales. The universe unfolds in its own immense time frame, and we are a part of that story, however briefly. The atoms in your body were forged in ancient stars, some born shortly after the Big Bang, others in generations of stars, long gone. In a very real sense, you carry a piece of this cosmic history within you. There is a profound peacefulness in recognizing the continuity between the ancient universe and ourselves. The same physical laws that governed the birth of galaxies and the path of light through space also govern the gentle rise and fall of your breath as you lie here. The carbon in your cells was formed in the hearts of long-vanished stars. The iron in your blood was created in stellar explosions that lit up the early universe. You are connected to those distant times and events, a child of the cosmos, quietly sharing in the universe's grand timeline. As you contemplate the depths of time, the night sky above seems even more special. Each star and faint glow now carries added significance. They are time travelers, bringing stories from different epochs of existence. The sky is like a patchwork of eras. Here a star from a few hundred years ago, there a galaxy from 1 billion years ago, all shining together in the present moment for you to witness. The longer you reflect, the more any sense of hurry or worry dissipates, replaced by an understanding that you are part of something vast, enduring, and harmonious. Your journey through space and time has now carried you from the ground beneath your feet to the edge of the universe and back to the beginning of time. In the quiet of this moment, under the canopy of ancient starlight, you find a gentle contentment. The cosmos is alive with history, and you are an audience to its magnificent story. As you breathe in the cool night air, you carry with you the awareness that even in darkness, you are surrounded by the glow of billions of years of cosmic evolution. This realization settles softly in your mind, comforting and profound, as you allow yourself to simply be a small conscious part of this great unfolding mystery. All around you, the night is calm and reassuring. You feel the cool earth beneath you and the subtle weight of a light blanket of air resting on your skin. A gentle breeze stirs now and then, as if the night itself is breathing with you. In this stillness, your own heartbeat and the distant starlight seem quietly in tune. You close your eyes for a moment, carrying with you the profound peace that comes from knowing your place in this vast, beautiful universe.